Hump Day edition. What it do, what it do, what it do. Wednesday evening. Welcome to Outlaw Radio, the big picture. I am Kevin Barnes. I am the host of the show. And this is what we do on Mondays and Wednesdays, 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time until whenever we choose to cut the machine off. Welcome to the show. Share the show. Let them know the Negro Whisperer is on the air, right? Ain't no myth. You too near me not to hear me. Dion James, man, I see you in the chat room. Dion is always right on time with the show, right? He said, what motherfucker at? Knock, knock. Here we go, Dion. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Outlaw Radio, man. What it do, what it do, what it do. Premium black news, if you will. Premium black conversation. Conversation for foundational black Americans. I like to consider myself FBA, right? And I'm becoming aware that that's actually a thing versus ADOS, I believe. I said versus, but I guess in opposition to. We'll talk about that as we move along. That along with a whole lot of other things. Life is lifing right now for me. And I hate to start the show off like this, but I have to give it up. Rest in peace to another one of my homeboys who perished. I believe yesterday or this morning, maybe this morning. The homie Big Reg. If you from the hood, you know. Big Reg, OG, big homie, big triple OG, real dude, well respected in our neighborhood. Passed away. I don't know any particulars. I don't know any circumstances, but once again, it does not stop. When you get old, this is where you find yourself at, right? Like, people leaving, right? We keep saying it's the cycle of life. So it's Outlaw Radio, man. The big picture. Prayers to his family. Shout out to Reno Casino. You feel me? And just that their family is a staple of our neighborhood for a very long time. That's why I say if you know, right? If you're from over there, people say, damn, man, Big Reg passed this morning. I've already received several phone calls. So that's where we're at with that. There's a number attached to the show. 262-202-5131. 262-202-5131. The chat room is on deck as usual. I am waiting for the family to arrive. I mean, for me, when it starts, and where it goes, and then it's over in terms of the show, right? Like, so that's absolutely the way I look at it. So whether people are here or not, sometimes is not necessarily a determining factor on whether the show will start or not. But yeah, man, if you lost somebody out there, we know Milwaukee right now is just absolutely crazy. And like I had on the last show, actually referenced the neighborhood where I'm from, which is Capitol Drive in Atkinson. And there's been some crazy violence over there. But then I guess yesterday there was these reports coming in that somebody had shot up the block on 11th and Atkinson. Man, crazy. And then people saying like it's blood everywhere. People laid out in the streets. This is Milwaukee. This is where we're at right now. I see you, Ewok the Great. Another one of my brothers. He's from the mill, but he resides in AZ. Shout out to you, Ewok. I see you in the chat. Y'all share the show if you're listening. They be playing with my numbers. I already know that. So that's why I say it's so important to share the show. And I do like these kinds of look at the reports and the numbers, the figures, and a lot of times they don't make sense. But it is what it is. And once again, I always say I do this for a cause and not an applause. If you are tuning in and you've lost someone, man, it's cool for you to just call in and just kind of reflect on it. Like a lot of times we talk about the need for a safe space for Black men to be able to kind of talk about what we want to talk about without interruption, without worrying about somebody trying to cancel you or fire you. And this is entirely that platform. Carl Pfeiffer, my cousin, man, big homie, my big cousin. What's up with you, family? He said, what up, fam? How you doing, my brother? Welcome to the show tonight. Y'all share the show. Tell people to tune in. Cuz I know you in the hood, Big Reg. I know one of the fellas, as we say. One of the fellas, Stairway to Heaven, right? You say the upper room. But yeah, man, and like I said, I'm coming off a week where I lost Yayo. Rest in peace, Yayo the Don. I lost T Rock. Rest in peace to T Rock. And then Big Reg goes today. The sister Moo was she like a month ago. I can't forget her. She's from the neighborhood as well. So this is the part of life where we're at when you our age, right? I'm not a spring chicken, right? Like, and so, this kind of comes with it. But I don't know what's like. I'm looking at my neighborhood where I'm from, which always was not a place where you can go and play games, but it was never from outsider perspective because I'm no longer there and I'm not there on a regular. Like I'm not consistently on the block. I'm not posted on the block. Um, for lack of a better terms, it seems like it's out of control, but the whole city is out of control. The whole city is out of control. It's shit. We're not even in what is it, June? What is it? What month is it? I don't even know. June. Okay, June 7th. How you don't know the month? I mean, I'm twisted. I'm twisted, man. These last few weeks, man, have got me on a like kind of tripping, man, just because, like we've even talked about different aspects of it in regards to how brothers are actually losing their lives, right? And so we're saying we're too old. We're at the point where we shouldn't be getting murdered, right? You would think that hopefully you kind of figured out how to circumvent the neighborhood. And like I said, it's cool to show up and show love, but a lot of times you got to keep your mind on your business, and your business needs to be away from the neighborhood. That's just the reality. You know, y'all let me know how y'all feel about it. That's why I say there's a number attached to the show. You can always call in. Everybody's opinion is accepted and respected on the show as long as you don't get disrespectful. Then I won't have to hang up on your ass. But it is what it is, man. Like I said, rest in peace to the homie. Big Reg, you know, I got a lot of memories of Big Reg. I'm pretty sure anybody from the hood who's from over there has several as well. And like I said, shout out to his family. Shout out to everybody who's losing. We are all losing. One of the reasons I decided to call the show the big picture tonight is because I don't want to have tunnel vision, right? And a lot of times that's what we as a people suffer from. We have tunnel vision. We can only see one thing. We can only understand one perspective. And I feel like a lot of times you have to back up off of it and come back at it from a different angle. So in essence, you have to see the big picture. And so when we're talking about the big picture, then we start to talk about leadership, and we start to talk about citizenship, and we start to talk about common unity in the community. Um, we have to talk about quality of life. We have to talk about resources. We have to talk about the availability of help when someone needs it, right? And so the big picture is everything that's going on. Because see, there's some real micro situations going on in these neighborhoods that are causing this violence. This violence is not as random as people may think it is. It's not as just like the people in general are out of control. It's an element in our society, and there's situations that happen amongst those elements, and then people clash. Ultimately, you see people lose their lives. Rail, what's popping with you, man? Welcome to the show.
Oh man, chilling. Glad to be here. Had to take my baby's summer clothes shopping, man. I didn't realize they ain't had no clothes for the weather.
Summer clothes. Okay. Okay.
Summer clothes, man.
Daddy duty type shit, right? Right.
Man, every damn year, man.
Right. That's an excellent excuse for being late, I guess. Okay, what can I say about that? Now, fuck them kids. I mean, I can't. What I'm saying. Fuck them kids.
That's
Right.
how I felt when I got the receipt, man. Shit.
Oh shit. Okay. Okay. Call your mama to come get you. Right. Right.
She was there.
That's what
Shit.
you earn it for.
She was helping them pick the shit.
Oh, so it's partially her fault. See, the conversation gets deeper and
Right,
deeper.
man. You know.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. No, the show is called The Big Picture, and you're 4100 born and bred. So I don't know if you knew the homie Big Reg. I don't know if you know Reno. Because I thought Reno, that group of youngsters that fill up, Reno was behind me. I thought he might really be in your whole. I know
Nah, he
he's
was
in there with
probably.
Coco and all those young
Oh yeah,
brothers.
they older than me. That's my uncle
Okay.
now.
Okay. So Big Reg is right from 14th Street, right in the heart of
Yeah,
4100.
yeah. Somebody else had just got found over there too. Just yeah, unfortunate, man.
Yes, there was actually a thank you for there was a murder over there. What it was it Sunday where
Man,
and I didn't know this brother. Because I like I said, I hit cuz up. Shout out to my cousin Carl Pfeiffer. And I said, man, somebody got hit in the hood. And he sent me a picture and I was like, well, I don't know that brother. I mean, that doesn't make it any less impactful.
right. Yeah, I see.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if we went to school together. I see a whole lot of my people, mourning right now, and my heart's out to them. It's like yeah. And then and I know Bob was just saying how 4100 can't catch a break, and then I was like, damn, who else? You know.
You know, like I was just talking about that when you get to be my age, right? And like so, you do start to lose people. And we don't always understand it. I don't listen. I lost my both of my parents in about a 6 year span, right? Like I lost my pops in 7 years almost. Lost my pops in 99, and then I lost my mom in '06 December.
Yeah,
And so I'm been familiar with on the first name basis with losses. Like, I talk about my homeboy, my guy, like my brother, Big Cool Dog, my homie, man. He died in 94, January of 94. I was a senior in high school. That was my man's.
yeah,
And so I've always been, just kind of existing knowing that homies drop, family members drop, no grandparents, aunties, uncles, cousins. So I've always been on a first name basis with somebody going. So
yeah,
yeah, so for me, just I see it and it's like, damn, but I do understand it to a certain degree.
yeah,
Right. I do understand.
yeah. And it just reminds you of your own mortality. And we can do one of two things. We can either let that get us into a slump, realizing that one day our ticket gonna be called, or it can motivate us to make the best use of our time right now to be as impactful as we can be with the time that we had here. And that's what I try to focus on, just making sure that I'm utilizing my time in honor of the people who would have liked more time here.
And that's what okay, and that's a great thing that you just said because I kind of look at this like, okay, when you start to see people leave and you say, well, I'm getting older and I'm pretty sure my ticket will eventually be punched, then it kind of makes you say, well, what am I going to do with the time that I have left? Right?
Yeah, yeah.
What am I going to do with the time that I have left? And that's why I said I think I want to talk about the big picture tonight
That's fly
because we
as
start
hell.
to talk about what really matters.
Yeah,
I mean, I'll be the first one to tell you at one point I cared about a lot of shit that didn't really matter, right? I
we
took
all
certain
do.
right, I took certain kind of paths in life and I thought I had my principles and my morals in my bag and all this. And when I look back at it, I said, well, that didn't even mean shit.
Man, you know
What was
what
you
though?
tripping on that for?
They be funny as fuck now looking back, like dog, you was losing sleep over hard G. Like you be
Well, I was
man.
never on that. Like it wasn't
See,
never
that
right.
was my struggle.
Okay.
I
Okay.
desired to be desired type shit.
Okay.
Before I came into myself and realized who the fuck I was,
Okay.
that was my drug. That was my needing to be loved type shit. You know what I'm saying? So I overpoured love into others, hoping that it'll bounce off of them and return to me.
Mm.
So when it didn't, you be in the dumps. I gave this person this much time, this much love, these many gifts, but now looking back, man, I be cracking up at my younger self, man. Like, damn, you thought you was about to die, nigga, and here you is.
Yeah, see, and I think that's what I kind of figured there was something that made me feel like I was real slick is because I felt like I had real nigga principles,
Yeah,
right? I was never tripping on that. I was never
yeah,
tripping on no, "Ooh, she loved me." I
yeah,
wasn't picking up shit, right? I wasn't I
man.
wasn't
That shit,
I
that I
wouldn't I wouldn't have
was.
gave when I was young, I wouldn't have gave a crippled crab a crutch. I did not give a shit. I'm trying to tell you, bro. I like that's what I'm saying. My principles were more along the lines of, being loyal to my people, like
Yeah, yeah,
being real in the field, like
yeah,
moving this a certain way, and being in certain positions. I thought a lot of that shit. I was like, that's how you got to be. I almost like
yeah,
I thought I was some kind of made man or something,
yeah, yeah. No,
but
I
I
feel
really
you.
wasn't. I was just another nigga risking his freedom.
Hey, shit. Hey, yeah.
So thank the Lord above that I did come out of the fog and start to say, okay, let me start to set some priorities, and a lot of it came because of situations. Like a lot
Yeah,
of it
yeah.
came because I ran into and I learned from each kind of situation where I was like, okay, I got to cut this off right here. I got to leave it.
Okay.
Where I'm going, this can't come.
Yeah,
So big picture now I'm doing the same thing. Like you said, I'm thinking about my own mortality. I'm thinking about you don't really know how much time you have left. So I want to be able to do exactly what I want to do with the time that I have left.
hell yeah.
I don't want to waste no time. You know what I mean? Like how we actually used to like really one of our things back in the days, cats in my neighborhood, we like to kick it, right?
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
post up at somebody's house. We ain't particularly doing shit, a little hustling here and there,
yeah.
a little ghetto networking, but we for the most part, you got a little crap game going over here. We sipping over here, we smoking over here, we doing, but you wasn't doing shit. You was wasting time. And
Yeah.
and 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 I don't regret it. I wouldn't take it
Right,
back. It
right,
was a
right.
hell of a time, but I haven't had the desire to do anything like that for years.
Yeah,
Like I ain't wanted to go and sit at the homie house and play Madden and smoke and listen to music for 3-4 hours. I haven't wanted to do that in a
yeah.
very, very long time. I will say you got other shit that you could be doing besides
Right,
that,
right, right.
right? So it the big picture, man, for us, like it's showing us that window of opportunity is getting tighter and tighter for us, right? Like my age, assume the position, right? Like my mother used to say, the shit or get off the pot. And I feel like if anything great is gonna happen, or if there will be anything impactful that I personally could do, the time is now for me to circle the wagons and make it happen, because you really just don't know when the lights is out, right? Like the upper room, right.
Hey,
So
yeah.
Eddie Murphy said in life, I'm just gonna bust up in the motherfucker and go to singing the upper
Yeah.
room. So
Hey,
yeah, and it is absolutely a part of life. First you
hey,
born,
it's
then you
it's
live, then you die. Right,
right.
right, right,
And,
right.
and that ain't the end. You know what I'm saying? That's just another chapter of some shit. So
It's the
you
great unknown.
you know, so it's like we can't you I try not to view it as something to dread anymore. I just want, when I go, I want to know that my family is good, and I want to know that the shit I did, like, and that, I guess that's what I. I so the first time I had this inclination or whatever is when I ended up in intensive care at the age of 13. I thought I just had a cold or some shit, but I ended up having pneumonia, and
Mm,
I was in the ICU for 3 days. You know
mm,
what I'm saying? So at a young age, I realized my mortality. And then when I began to have children, it was like, okay, now I have to be here to raise somebody else and provide for somebody else.
right,
So it ain't just me no more. So
right.
so in 2010, damn, was it 20? No, I'm sorry, 2012. I was going through a divorce and closing on the house at the same time. And I didn't realize that it was stress that was doing it. Cause at the time I couldn't keep shit down. You know, I eat something, throw it right back up. Felt like I was choking and shit, like just out the blue. And go to the doctor. You know, I'm shit in my 20s still. They doing colonoscopies, endoscopies and shit. It had got to the
Damn.
point, yeah, it had got to the point where, like, on the days I had my kids, I would drop them off at my mom and them house because I didn't want to be in the house alone with my sons. They was 3 and 4, just in case some bullshit happened. So at that time, like that's why I started getting big on videos, internet videos, because I was like, shit, if something happens to where I can't have important conversations with my sons, I want them to be able to at least cut on a YouTube channel and see daddy and hear what the fuck he got to think about certain things,
Right.
just in case I wasn't
And
around to have those
and
talks.
and that would be dope as shit if I could go on YouTube and pull up my father right now in his
Dog.
mode, right? Like if I could pull up moms in their mode and go when I say,
That's what
what if I
man.
think about this? Like it would be some fly shit, right? It would
And
be
I,
some
I
fly
was just
shit.
telling my lady today, I said, man, I regret that I didn't interview my grandparents, but I was too young. You know what I'm saying? But that's a regret. I wish I sat down with them. Hey, when did you come to Milwaukee? Where were you born? Where did you meet grandmama? Just basic shit.
I got a lot of those stories, but I
No,
just wish I
I
could
wish
go.
I could
Okay,
have recorded it. Like it'd be
okay,
dope
okay.
as hell for us to have like a family hard drive to where we could pull up great auntie and hear her
Yeah,
talk about her. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? That man, shit.
Like this real kind of hall of information, right?
Because we so
A digital
disconnected.
archive,
Exactly. Because
right?
now when you talk about heritage, people get to getting scared thinking it's ancestral worship and it's demonic. But it's like, no, you needed to hear the story about great granddaddy having to shoot at these Klansmen just because he had the prettiest carriage in the motherfucking town. Shit like that. I heard those stories through my mom and them, but it would have been dope as hell to have like video footage of them just talking
Right,
they
right.
shit. But we could do that. So that's something I really want to get together with my family and the people that's here and see if I can interview my elders that's left and start an archive, digital
So,
archive.
so, Mama Jenkins, shout out to Mama Jenkins.
Peace,
She said, "Good
peace.
evening, my outlaw family. Another day in the world of madness. Just make the dash between the year you were born and the day you died mean something."
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Very, very beautifully put, Mama
Yes,
Jenkins.
ma'am.
Very beautifully put. Let me see. I don't know. I'm not familiar with that number. I don't know who that is. If you were trying to hit me from California, hit me right back. I don't want to answer the phone. Somebody be like, Kevin, Mr. Barnes, you all like, damn, you behind on his bill.
Your warranty.
Right, right. Hold on. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Shout out to Joshua Anderson. He said, talk that talk, really, John. Preacher, and let the church say amen.
That's the homie there.
All right, all right, all right. Well, y'all, welcome to the show. Y'all welcome to call in. 262-202-5131 is the number. 262-202-5131. Is this my brother Shabaka on the jack? California, you on live. Who this?
Okay, yeah, this is Shabaka Sankari calling to you from Shabaka's Black Experience Enhanced tonight. We're doing a special edition open forum from the Black community. It's because we didn't do it last night. It's because, Brother Paris, had a commitment there. And so, we're just shouting out there to you all, and we're just letting you know we have an open forum from the Black community. We're having an open mic episode to discuss the current situation within the African diaspora. So please call in with your comments, questions, and concerns.
4 minutes until showtime.
In regards to the lives of African peoples from around the globe. And this episode is for those 18 years of age and over. And please share the link to this episode as often as possible all over social media, because they blocked me and restricted me on Facebook because they can't handle the truth. Plus, we are being shadow banned. Eurocentrism hates our truth. And the more they hate it, the better that we feel. So most definitely, yeah, we got to give a call there to the outlaws,
Peace, peace.
And as you know, we generally come on Tuesday.
I appreciate
so
the love.
everybody as well then know. Oh, yes, sir, absolutely. So, get with us when you can, Mr. Barnes, you know what I'm saying? So we ought to be going tonight, man, for about 2 hours, you know what I'm saying? And we're being shadow banned, and they hate on us, and the more that they hate on us, the better that we feel, is because we speak against the popular version of what is true.
3 minutes until showtime.
And the X-Man, had said that, Okay, Mr. Barnes. Okay. Yeah, best wishes to everybody out there.
Got you.
Peace,
All
peace.
right now. All right.
Yes, sir.
Shout out to Shabaka Sankor. He does a blog talk show. So if you're listening and you hear 3 minutes, that's not calling from the county jail. That's blog talk. I used to be on blog talk, so I know blog talk. When you get ready to start if you're listening, it'll give you a countdown, 3 minutes, and that kind of thing. So
Mm.
that's what that was. I know y'all like, who the hell I'm talking to? Mama Jenkins says my dad is 100 years old, and I just started recording my daddy's stories the last 5 years. I've missed so much of his wisdom, and just to know that his mind is still sharp as hell, and the things that he has shared with me, especially the Great Depression.
Please get
Man,
it all. Please get it all.
if my dad was alive right now, he'd be 87 years old, right? And I couldn't even, because he left so long ago, I couldn't even imagine the value of being able to, watch and just hear those stories that I grew up on over and over again. So that would be some super, super dope shit.
Yeah, man.
But so when we talk about the big picture, right? This I know it's very easy to pick and choose, right? And this is the one thing we do in Milwaukee a lot. We pick and choose different issues, and we go in on those issues, and then we point the finger at somebody, and then that's, like I said, it's tunnel vision, right? Can't see the forest for the trees. But I think sometimes we forget how one situation enables the other situation, which creates another situation. So you have to take a big picture approach to it. It's not simple. And I don't know how long y'all been black, but I've been black for 47 years, right? It's very complicated. We just had the other night, we had a situation where Scott Epicet, and if people listen to the show, they know Scott's a troll. He loves to listen to us, but he's just a very racist white man, right? And so he's a white Wisconsinite. And so it's for play with him. And he made some comments on Facebook that I happened to come across in regards to the death of the homie, and it just triggered Kamar. I understand it, because I know Kamar knows the brother. I know, like he said, his best friend was Terrell T-Buck, who was killed by the sheriffs. So I know Kamar was hot. I know he was heated. And what I didn't want to happen was to give this white dude so much power where it interrupted what we do in terms of Outlaw Radio, right? And so if you go back and listen to the show, Speak of the Devil, here's the witch doctor himself.
Peace.
How you doing, brother?
I'm all right, man. How y'all doing?
We tight. You came, man. It's almost like we staged this shit because I was talking about you. And the name of the show is Big Picture.
You know, I show up, man. Say my name 3 times.
Okay. Witch doctor. Maybe I should have did that.
Fly ass hat too.
Maybe I should have did that at 7:30 and your ass would have been on time, right? So from now on, before the show, I'm gonna say your name 3 times so you can be on time. But no, I was referencing, the name of the show is Big Picture, because I was talking about my big homie who passed today. Another one of my homies, one of Rail's neighborhood people from 4100, the legend, OG Big Reg, passed. And I said, well, in light of a lot of different things that have happened, we have to start to approach this from a big picture perspective. And so I was saying last week when Trolley Troll called in and he said you were triggered, obviously, but with good reason. But what I was trying to do was make sure we didn't lose focus on the big picture, which is Outlaw Radio, right? And I wanted to make sure that we didn't give this entity, this dark cloud, so much power where it disabled us, right? Because we know, let's be honest, we know face to face, come out your mouth a certain way, especially him, bong, you dropped. Nobody's fucking around with you like that. And we know he understands that he would never be around us and be that loose, right? So it's like, okay, it's just one of those things where it made me go back to my strategic thing and say, what are our goals, right? I work with people on setting goals for themselves. And I think a lot of people think it's just lip service, but it's so important to set goals. Even as a community right now, if we got together, and I'm not even, because we've talked about the agenda or the lack thereof. We've talked about being on code. We talked about solidarity, sovereignty, separatism. We've approached this from a bunch of different angles. But if the community collectively got together and said we have to establish community goals, not individual goals, community goals, what does that involve? Let's have an economic goal. Let's have a social goal. Let's have a spiritual goal. Let's have a health goal, right? Let's have something financial. We set these goals and let's revisit this list often and see how close we are to these goals. I think I think that would make a lot of people start to see a little bit clearer. I think a lot of people just don't say, what am I really doing? What am I, well, that's akin to what we were just talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And even Mama Jenkins talked about it with the dash between your birth and your death date is, what am I really doing with my life? What is my goal here? Right? Am I really looking to find my purpose so I can walk in it? Or am I just existing day to day? Am I just maintaining? Am I being tolerated or am I being celebrated? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Big picture. What's really going on? One of the ways that I got to, I'm telling y'all, I got to such a peace of mind at one point in my life when I just stepped back and took a picture of everybody who I rock with. And I started to separate them. I started to separate the people who never bring anything to the table in terms of, hey, man, let me help you this way. You took care of me on this end. Let me look out for you over here. Or, hey, man, I'm trying to build this and I'd like to share it with you. I would like you to co-create this with me. To the people who really work constantly saying, hey, bro, you good? What you need, man? What we doing? I start to separate those groups and get rid of the ones that I didn't need. And it didn't take me long. I was down to about 3 or 4 friends very quickly.
Yeah, that's how it go. That's how it go.
I was down to a very small circle very quickly. And I said, okay, well, this is how I'm rocking. This is how I'm rocking then. If that's what it took. But I noticed my quality of life changed.
Mm-hmm.
It changed. I started to notice things. I started to pick up on things that were important that I had never paid attention to and said, hey, man, I need to work on that. I need to work on this. And it worked for me. Now, I'm not where I want to be, but I'm saying it helped me transition from one stage of darkness to towards some light. So I think we as a community need to get some community goals into place. Let me catch my chat room because I want y'all to be able to rock with me on this. Some of the favorite stories are the ones traveling into the back roads from Milwaukee to Arkansas and being stopped by the police, and his Mason's brothers came to the rescue. So my question to him was, y'all had gangs back then? Of course they did. Of course they did. Of course they did. Yes, they did. Mama Jenkins said that's why meditation is good for the soul. It absolutely is.
Yeah.
Dion said, what the hell going on?
Peace.
You tell me, Dion. I don't know. It's pretty much the point of the show. I'm looking at the community saying, I don't know what the hell going on right now. Listen, these stories get more and more egregious, right? Like we were yesterday, there was this thing on 11th and Atkinson, and we were coming off, a dead body found in the toll lot, a teenager in the back, decomposed. We're talking about, the loss of family and friends. It's one of the things that just made me stop. Kamar and I had this conversation where we just both kind of said, man, I don't even want to talk about it. I don't even want to talk about it no more because it hurts that much. But sometimes you got to talk about it, right? It made me step back and say, let me look at the big picture, man. Because this ain't how this shit's supposed to be going, right? If I can't get my computer to load, right? I don't have cable. I ditched the dish and cable years ago. I stream, right? If I turn that TV on and I can't get the channel to work or something, I don't keep fiddling with it. I just unplug it. I said, I'm going to start all over. I might come down here and unplug the whole modem.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to start from scratch. I had to step back and take a big picture, man.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at tonight. Just in a reflective mode and saying, let me take a look at what do I want? What do I really want to do? Because now's the time for me to do it. And so I'm looking at the big picture. That's all. Kamar, I was supposed to be filling you in, but I ended up ranting for about 15 minutes. So that's like fucking Outlaw Radio, right? That's the way it is, man. So y'all feel free to do one of them. Kev, I ain't trying to cut you off, but Shut the fuck up, right?
Yeah.
My co-hosts are famous for that, Kev. Not to cut you off, but damn, nigga, you've been talking for 30 minutes straight. That's Outlaw Radio, right? Right. So don't hesitate to do that. He said he's glad they charged the lady in Florida. I have to look at that. He said he almost ready to give up on Milwaukee. He said, I know this is Dion saying, I know shit's happening everywhere, but it's getting ridiculous here. Dion, but it's ridiculous everywhere. Like once again, I live in the podverse. So I'm not only watching Milwaukee, I'm watching what's going on city to city, because there's representation. And from, if you go, like, especially on YouTube, we don't have the imprint that we should on YouTube. And I've been trying to work with some people who have told me we can kind of change that. But every other region, you hear about California, you hear about what's going on in Texas, you hear about what's going on in Chicago, New York, Florida. And it's the same conversations. It's the same. It's this crazy fucking ape shit, batshit crazy savagery. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I hear if you say you want to leave, but maybe okay, maybe you don't have to always leave the city, but you have to leave the hood. I know right now I could move in this state to places where the hood would never be a part of my daily operation, and I don't have to see it. And I probably could flourish, as Brother Man said. I could flourish. You know what I mean? Nothing against Texas. I don't have to move all the way to Texas, right? I'm pretty sure right now I could move to Germantown and be straight. Certain parts of Brown Deer, different areas throughout this place. So the work starts with me. That's how I feel, kind of like it starts with me. It starts with me constructing something, right? And never going backwards. Never going back. That's so hard to do for us. When we're from the community, it's hard not to go backwards, because you feel like a real loyalty to your community. I feel like, really, as a favor for raising me up the way it did, I actually owe my community something. Somebody tell me, Kev, you don't owe them shit. I said, I feel like I do. Not nothing like I need to go and give people money or nothing like that, but I feel like I need to do something that the hood can reflect on and say, hey, man, that's one brother who came from here, but he was able to overcome.
Right.
You know what
I'm
I'm
saying? And Kev, just that there alone, you know what I mean? That's doing a lot for the community. You know what I mean? Because you provide an example, man. And ain't nothing better to learn from than an example that somebody can see, touch, and even talk to. You know what I'm saying? So you ain't getting out the hood. You know what I mean? You're still in the hood working, just doing a different job. You dig what I'm saying? Now we informing. Now we teaching. You know what I'm saying? Instead of the leading, the revolts, the marches, and all the fighting against the machine, and you know what I mean? We working different now. You know what I mean? We solution based now. It ain't about fighting no more. It's about figuring something out to overcome some shit, to outthink some shit. You dig what I'm saying? So, you know what I mean? We still in the hood, man. We still doing our shit.
That sounds like big picture type shit, right? Like the big, like we're more focused on the big picture now. It ain't about my block. It ain't about my neighborhood. It ain't about, this my clique. It's about, man, us as a community, as a people, as
See, when you thinking of the big picture, you thinking spiritually now. You know what I mean? That's like our whole idea of spirituality. You know what I mean? Getting the big picture, getting the whole idea. You know what I'm saying? Getting the feeling, getting it, really getting it. You know what I'm saying? That's it.
Right. Let me see this.
Love that.
Dion says, no, I'm not talking about leaving the state. I've been looking at property in Fond du Lac, Sheboygan, and Iron Mountain. Okay. You see, okay.
Hey, and ain't nothing wrong with that. Remember the other day I said, man, they'll call you a coon if you leave the hood, and they'll kill you if you stay in the hood too long and you're doing too good. You dig what I'm saying? So I'd rather you call me a coon. I'm gonna be living well. My family's gonna be all right. I'll be the coon because I'm moving.
Okay. Okay.
You dig what I'm saying?
Right.
But my fingerprint will always be, you know what I'm saying, right here.
Right away. Dion says, I want to live in isolation. There's something to that for me as well. I want to say the numbers scrolling across the bottom of the screen, 262-202-5131. It's Outlaw Radio, the big picture tonight. Just losing. Rest in peace to the homie Big Reg, who we just lost this morning. Gotta say that. Prayers to the family. Know the family. Know him. Been around, right? Philip, Philip. I'm gonna say neighborhood for real. Shout out to my homie. I see George Terry Jr. He says sociology. Okay.
I love sociology.
Once again, I say one of the things I've always done, this was something that was ingrained in me from my mom, is always thought about tomorrow. I always thought about tomorrow because it's her thing would always be, it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. Right. And I learned a very valuable lesson from my mother, if you will. My father was a victim of the whole Reaganomics industrial collapse in Milwaukee, right? Great job in South Milwaukee, Alice Chalmers, 20-something odd years, done very well for himself, was doing very well, and then it was gone, right? And my mother instantaneously went into survival mode. Like all of a sudden, my mother was picking vegetables, canning vegetables, bagging vegetables, like fruit. She was making jelly, preserves. Like, I mean, my mother went into full-fledged scavenger mode. When I tell you about moms, we thinking the chickens finna be our pets, and she come in and kill all the chickens so she can freeze them and put them in the freezer for the winter. She was about tomorrow's gonna come, and you can't let it catch you unprepared.
Right.
So I made a lot of decisions even as a youngster. I didn't always understand the depth of them, but I made a lot of decisions for tomorrow, right? Like people say, I wouldn't have went to college. I wouldn't have went to school. I of course I love to play football, but one of the reasons why I went to school and got a degree is because I felt like this shit will help me later on down the line. I will be prepared for something. And I'm glad it worked out. That's that. You have to think about tomorrow. I live for the day. I'm worried about it right now. Well, you got to see the big picture. Mama Jenkins said, I just want to hear the answers to some of these things that has happened, like the young man being pulled by the leg on 91st, no gun found, the body in the car at the tow lot, 4 days. All this shit, no answers or a solution to all these problems. Each day there's more and more. Mama Jenkins, you just made a very good point. Very, very good point. We have no answers to anything. And once again, I don't expect City Hall to save us. I'm never that dude who thinks some magical law is going to be passed next week. And this will fix everything, because I think a lot of this is on the people. But when you're talking about things like a young man, 17 years old, left in a car that's sitting on the city tow lot for 4 days and he's dead in the back of the car. And I put up the interview with his mom in the People's News Network, where his mom is the whole time. So for people who say, where the parents at? His mother told her story today, or whenever she was interviewed, and I put it up today, and she was saying, listen, I've been on my son forever, telling him that I was scared I was going to lose him to the streets. I was constantly explaining to him that the things he was doing was wrong. She said, my son did not come home, and I knew when I heard about that kid who was the driver, was a 14-year-old driver who hit and got away and whatever, I knew he was with them. And so when he didn't come home, I knew something was wrong. As a matter of fact, she said she got the call while she was sitting with the police, saying your son is decomposed in the back of a crash SUV that's sitting in the tow lot, right? So you that callous where you towing a whole car, nobody thinks to look in the back. Did you even look at it? You had a whole crime, right? This dude could have had a nuclear bomb in the back seat. You wouldn't have known. So there's a continuous dropping of the ball at every level. And so right now I'm hearing nothing from downtown that will make me want to go and vote for anybody in the upcoming election. I'm hearing no real answers. I heard them talking about they went to a neighborhood and gave out flyers after a shootout happened and told people we have support for you. But the problem is you said your name was prevention. I mean, we could have showed up and gave out flowers or flyers after the shit happened. I'm with Mama Jenkins when I'm saying there's really no answers. Nobody has any answers right now. Usually they at least throw us a bone and do the press conference with everybody behind them. All the activists, they come down for the press conference and they say, we're coming up with an anti-violence initiative, but we're going to need your community to be involved. They ain't doing that right now. They just like, shit, we don't know. I'm surprised if the mayor don't just throw a press conference where and be like, well, I really don't know what the fuck is going on. I'm clueless as fuck. Vote for me next year. Like, I'll figure this shit out. It's just clueless. Keystone Cops downtown right now. What's really good? You got a shot spotter. You got a computer. Shots fired over here. Y'all go over there. Well, shouldn't it be some police distributed evenly across the city that are in those areas where you can just say, hey, we got shots over there. Can you? Because I heard your man say, well, they were chasing the shots. That's why they couldn't do crime in it. Are you that haphazard where as soon as we say a gunshot, all the police run to that scene? Like every cop in the city, his guns over here. Every cop go over there. No wonder so much goddamn crime being. I'm not saying that. I hope that ain't what's going on. We just need answers. It's not stopping. It's only going to ramp up. You see Master Lock leaving. You see businesses closing. So the poverty is going to get thicker, right? So where's the answer for this? Where's the answer? I'm not hearing what I need to hear from down there. I ain't hearing it from the community. Wholesale, I'm not even really hearing the community collectively say we're willing to do what it takes to curb a lot of this bullshit, right? I'm not hearing the community. I mean, yeah, you want to give a vigil. Yeah, you want to do it. You show up, we get together, everybody give up and give a beautiful speech. Somebody want to be on the news. Somebody want to end up on WNOV. But they don't, that energy eventually dissipates and we back to square one.
But you know what we don't do? We don't teach each other about how our loved ones fucked up. You know what I'm saying? Like in these type of situations. Like we always focus on yeah, we sad and everything like that, right? But nobody ever talk about the root of it. Like I said, the big picture. You know what I mean? Remember the other night when I was talking about T-Rock them in that situation, and I was saying, I said, man, it's bigger than just the three brothers that was involved. You know what I mean? It's root issues in these relationships, and you know what I mean? We got young brothers and older brothers that don't communicate right, and you know what I mean? It's a whole bunch of shit around these situations. It ain't just a situation. It's a bigger picture than just a situation. You dig what I'm saying?
Absolutely do. And that's why I named the show The Big Picture tonight, because it's always so much more. I always say when somebody gets arrested, and if you ask them what they did wrong, they'll say, well, I got caught. Right. That day, I should have got away, but this, that, and the third, or I would have got away, but yada, yada, yada. Nobody says this problem don't start the day I got arrested. It starts the day I got involved. It starts the day I start doing whatever the fuck it is that I ended up getting arrested for. Now, people say, well, that ain't got nothing to do with it. Well, I can tell you what, if you ended up in a situation where you felt it was your life or someone else's and you had to take their life, normally that problem didn't start right there. A certain mentality, a certain lifestyle, a certain set of actions kind of put that into motion. So when we say big picture, we say, well, how the fuck we end up here? First of all, let's figure out how the fuck we ended up here. Let me check my chat room. Mama Jenkins, you are absolutely right. She said, well, they know about Brady Street and they gave solutions today. Lickety split. Yeah, let's take care of Brady Street. Yeah, let's take care of downtown. Let's take care of anything adjacent to downtown. Shout out to Ajamu. How you doing, my brother? He said Outlaw Kings, peace and love, family.
Peace, peace.
How you doing, my brother? Mr. Brother Heal the Hood is on the chat on the jack, man.
Hey,
Y'all feel
look, and then, hey, my bad. I was just going to say, you know what I mean? Speaking on that again, we think about the mindsets of the people, you know what I mean? Like, shit, when I was in the streets, I was seeing shit different, right? Like, one of my little homies talked to one of the big homies, right? Well, not one of my big homies, but one of my partners. And he was talking about the situation, and my partner was saying, man, the fact is we need structure, and ain't nobody following no rules out here, and all that type of stuff, right? But see, the bigger picture is that's bullshit. You dig what I'm saying? Like, what the fuck you mean? Like, it's time to quit all that structure shit and just live your fucking life. How about family structure? How about get that together? You dig what I'm saying? Like, we got the wrong mindset, man. You know what I mean? We motherfuckers pushing 50 and we out here thinking that we out here in these streets, you know what I'm saying? Thinking the same motherfucking way. You dig what I mean? Like, this shit gotta change, dog. You gotta grow up. Your brain, your thoughts gotta change.
I made a very long-winded kind of statement. Basically, you just summed it up very well. When I talked about earlier in the show, I think it might have been prior to your arrival when I was saying that at one point I considered myself a really thorough cat, right? I felt like I was moving in the city, moving on the block, moving in the neighborhood like I should. And I had my mind made up that there were these certain kind of real nigga principalities or principles that I live by. And I just stated, when I look back at it now, I say, oh, that was dumb. That was some dumb shit, right? You was such a detriment. And you could have lost everything, right? You could have got all your rings knocked out of your ass like Mario fucking around in these streets. John Fletcher, shout out to my brother. He is in the chat room, been a frequent contributor to the show, been on the show listening for a while. He said that people have to create for themselves and understand this is the new reality. We're not going back to the old days, so we have to prepare for now. And some people are going to be left behind. Absolutely. I don't disagree with that statement, my brother. I think what Kamar and I are on the same page in that I hear brothers say that too, Kamar, and they try to justify or even diminish the impact of some of the things that would happen back when we were young and say, man, but no, it was all bullshit then too. Because believe it or not, a lot of this shit was happening. A lot of the same shit was happening. We just didn't have social media.
Right.
Like, 'cause I know I haven't seen any new crime, right? When I see the youngsters, you can say the kid boy shit. Yeah, but we was peeling steering columns. So they should have called us the GM boys.
I learned how to drive with a stolen car.
Right. They should have called us the GM boys because we learned how to peel that especially an old Oldsmobile. You cracking the neck on him like a soda pop, right? So it's nothing new under the sun. Let me see. Mama Jenkins. Shout out to Mama Jenkins. Love when Mama Jenkins is in the building. She said the big picture is lack of leadership, training at home, family, and knowing your neighborhoods. I have written in my talking points goals, purpose, and practice. As I said, what do I want to do versus what I'm actually doing to get there? And that's missing in the community. A lot of people just don't have the structure to do it. My brother says, John Fletcher says the government is meant to govern their systems. So we need to wake up and realize that and not look to them for answers. We have to govern ourselves starting at home, our neighborhoods, and then our country. Oh man, that's well put. Tasha Holmes, how you doing, my sister? She said they are throwing funding for the prison employees and probation and parole agents. Caseloads are 70 to 80 per agent, hard to manage. Say no, so no reform. Yes. And see, that's what I like. That's big picture stuff right there. When we start talking about probation and parole agents who are overwhelmed, and then what happens behind that? Recidivism. See, you see what I'm saying? Like one thing happens and then another thing happens. It's just like shit just don't stop. They say shit rolls downhill. So thank you for making that point, my sister Tasha Holmes. Shout out to you. Joe, my big homie, man, my OG triple OG. He said, good evening, Outlaw Radio, peace and love, Milwaukee.
Peace.
Milwaukee is getting heavier every day. R.I.P. to my brother, Big Reggie. And I know you feeling that, JoJo, because that's your generation, right? Like that's is right. I know that's the bigger homies, and I grew up running around these dudes, and they was older than me, and I was just little badass Kevin, just I know you. I know that hit you hard, JoJo. But yeah, I like, man, this conversation is very fruitful because it starts. Hopefully it'll start people to understand that this ain't just about two little young niggas shooting at each other, but this ain't just about some kids driving through the city crazy. Like, big picture, let's back up. Let's zoom out a little bit and say, why is this happening now? And my brother John Fletcher, I do agree with you. The government's whole thing is to govern. I totally agree with you. But I do think that when there's situations, the government has a responsibility to say, hey, if nothing else, we got to come in and do something to circumvent that. Because you can't run efficiently if the city is in chaos. So you have to have an arm that can deal with those types of things. And right now in Milwaukee, I'm just not seeing it. I'm not seeing anything that's groundbreaking. I'm not hearing anyone say anything that motivates me or polarizes me. They look more inept than anybody. Right? But I see them smiling a lot. I see them cutting ribbons. I see them at a Brewer game having a beer. I see them at a festival, kick back with their feet up. Yay, we having so much fun. Well, guess what? The rest of us ain't. I'm sorry. I know you had a good time at Irish Fest. We're not having a good time. I know you happy because you get to take pictures and you can put your name on stuff and say, we're not having as much fun as you. And that's a shame because you actually work for us and you should be more stressed than us. Man, listen, I can't talk about these bump outs enough, especially when you think about the fact that I'm driving down the street and I'm looking at holes that I literally can't see the bottom of. I'm driving my car looking at potholes saying, damn, how deep is I just avoid it. And I don't care how slick you is driving, eventually you're gonna hit one because you didn't see it. Boom, 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 boom. Damn. I hope I didn't bust my damn tire, right? I'm on the dashboard looking at the tire gauge, like, oh shit. And you don't have an answer for that, but you got these bump outs completed in concrete with signage in 2 months. Right?
That shit crazy.
It's the most ridiculous shit you've ever seen.
Because now they just gonna try to beat the next bump out like they used to try to beat the next parked car. So they still gonna be baseline and just bobbing in and out.
You know what, Rail? I'm anticipating their plan for when you plow the street in the wintertime and the plow can't go over that thing, you're gonna have a really tall hill, a big ass snowbank sitting there. Now, do they have a machine that's gonna do that, or is that gonna require their workers to get out there and shovel them off?
Ain't nobody gonna be able to see past that snowbank either.
That's right. I mean, come on, like, I don't want to get upset.
Maybe it was a city that they modeled it after. Like, maybe there's a city somewhere that has success with bump outs. And
it's called Dumbass USA. That's where they got it from, right? The home of all the idiots who've ever lived, right? Like, I'm from Dumbville. I'm from Stupid Town.
Hey, man,
Come on, man.
But you know what? Hey, it got to be a little part of us, though, that feel like, you know what I mean? It might not be the right thing, but the motherfuckers tried something.
Okay. I will give you that.
You know what I'm saying? It may not be the right thing, but they did take some kind of action.
Right. But it's something.
You know what I'm saying?
I can rock with you on that.
And that's where I'm at. You know what I mean? I'm like right there. You know what I mean? Like I hear it where like, yeah, it's gonna be a whole bunch of fucked up shit behind it. I feel like, you know what I mean? But it's still a little bitty part of me that's like, motherfuckers tried something.
I'm Kamar.
You know what I mean? I don't know what to say after that. Right?
I'm honestly more upset with the dumbasses who've caused it. Like, I'm more upset with the people, the drivers. And like, I'm mad because they did it. I just felt like there's so many ways you could have done this where you could have removed it eventually. Like I said, it could have been rubber. It could have been some sort of structure where you could just kind of take it loose. I didn't feel like you need to add a whole nother 5 tons of concrete. And I'm looking at this from a fiscal perspective, in which the streets that we pay property taxes on have fucking potholes in them deeper than my elbow. We in June. Are you gonna come through and put them crumbs in there? The asphalt crumbs. The first time they plowed, that shit was gone again. But you put real concrete right here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
that's why they should have put that concrete in the street.
it looks scary. I get nervous. Like, damn, I wanna stay in the other lane and shit.
Put that concrete in them.
He said that's the correct answer. They want to say they did something, and that's politics at its finest. Right? We tried to help you, nigga. Yeah. Until somebody hit one of them curves and absolutely causes more carnage in a high speed, it's gonna be like the train. We were saying years ago that train is dumb as fuck, man. Don't put that train down there. And look, this shit's still down there going in the circle. Like it's like
he still can't stay on the track.
It's like it's all fun and games until somebody loses an eye, man. I just this kind of wait and see politics is crazy for me. Tasha Holmes says I'm 2 miles from Fiserv and 2 miles from the Brewer Stadium. I'm waiting for my home value to increase. While Wauwatosa is trying to expand, they are reaching out to homeowners to see if the majority will rezone. They are attempting to expand downtown, so everybody west of Marquette better get their properties together, or they're gonna start snatching them back again. This is my favorite word, gentrification. That is what is coming. It ain't if it's coming, it's already here.
So
I jumped out the window. I jumped out the window completely because I was so upset about just losing the homies. And I said I'm in favor of gentrification and I wanted them to hurry up. I might have said, get rid of these niggers. I might have put an R on the shit and said niggers. I don't know. I was straight up. I was beside myself after that show, like, because I was mad and I was emotional. And I'm still emotional, but I've checked. I've got the emotions in check enough to have a conversation. It's like they say, well, you shouldn't whoop your kids your ass when you're mad. You shouldn't do a podcast when you're mad. How about we just say that, right? Because you'll say some shit that you'd be like, damn, I shouldn't have said that, right? Like, that ain't me.
Like, I should have stayed off the show the other day, right? I was still.
I think you were doing fine. In retrospect, like I said, I read. But see, I wanted to address him while I had him on the line because I did step into that group and both guns blazing. I was like, I don't give a fuck if they block me on Facebook. I don't give a shit. I snapped in there and I wanted to just let him know, not thinking, damn, that's gonna hit Kamar. I should have been more considerate. Of you just being raw, just it being very raw for you. I don't regret getting at him because he needed to be checked. Right. But like I say,
hey man, you know what upset me the most though? Like, you know how like growing up, how white people, they talk all that shit and you know what I mean? Push all the motherfucking buttons until you do something, then they gotta run and tell, do some little punk shit. You know what I mean? That's the feeling I got. And I hate that shit, dog. Don't bullshit me.
Right.
You know what I mean? Don't talk, don't play games with me. You know what I'm saying? I ain't with that, man, especially if you don't know me.
Yeah, my point was that, like I told them in that group, why y'all on here laughing and joking? This is a real dude. This is somebody who I really know. This ain't no fun and games. This ain't nothing funny. Right. This ain't time for you to make your little hood rat Joe, all the little shit you be saying. And so I had to let them know. But once again, it's like I said, because I know normally you wouldn't deal with a situation in that manner. But I can understand where it came from. It was boom. Like, man,
I ain't all the way fixed. I ain't all the way here. You know what I mean? There's still a bunch of fucked up parts about me, man. You know what I mean? There's still some shit that'll set me way the fuck off. You know what I mean? I ain't scared to admit it.
Right.
You know it, hell.
And that's to that point. That's why I was able to come back on Monday and say, hey, man, I apologize because I felt a certain kind of way. I didn't necessarily agree with everything I said, but I said it because it's how I felt. Right. And that's it. But there's nothing wrong with that, Kamar, because like you pointed out, I'm included in your club. Hey, it's still a whole lot of work to be done on your boy. That's why I used to refer to myself as the sensible savage. It's still certain motherfucker get it going. A lot of people really just lucky my back is still healing because man, I ain't Mike Tyson, but I've been known in some circles to throw one hell of a right hand, right? And I'm just saying, So I'm still working on that. That's another thing with the big picture. Now that's why I'm looking at myself saying, I can never allow anything to deter me from what I want to do.
No doubt.
I cannot allow, even though it might be out of order, it might be
Mm-hmm.
wrong, and I want to stop and go say, hey, motherfucker, what the fuck you just say? I got to keep it pushing. In some cases, Scott got exactly what he deserved
With
from
me,
you, and
with
it's just
me,
a shame that it wasn't
afterwards,
in person.
always I felt bad afterwards. You know what I mean? Because I let him move me. No matter what I'm going through, you know what I mean? Shouldn't nobody be able to move me? You dig
Right.
what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm the master of this shit. That's why I
Right.
got so upset with myself. I understand that, you know what I mean? But that's part of the learning process. Like I say, here, what level you make it to, it's always something else that's gonna piss you off, something else you're gonna have to deal with about yourself. You know what I mean? And like he ain't got nothing to do with the situation. Like I say, we talking about the bigger picture. This is me.
Right.
I'm talking about my issues. You did?
Yeah. Dion says they tearing down Hillside. I worked in Hillside for a couple years, and they had came and this was upon the completion pre-pandemic of the Fiserv. And they came and spoke to the people and said, we're gonna do some restructuring. And my program was there to help people get out of public housing. To say, if you join my program, they'll put a freeze on increasing your rent for 2 years as long as you get a job. They like your income can go up and they won't raise your rent. So you save your money, get your credit right, and move on. And people want to know parts of it. Some people took advantage of it, but some people just like, man, I just want to get my rent
Right.
just to free so they won't raise my rent.
Now,
It was crazy.
Man, white folks gonna do whatever they got to do, man. You know what I mean? Like talk about gentrification, they gonna do that shit. It's up to us to figure out how to beat it.
Of course.
How to make it work for us. You get
Right.
what I'm saying?
Right.
Mama Jenkins said, oh, speaking of bump out, I saw my first accident Sunday on Capitol 54 Midtown. 4 cars just torn the hell up. There's people laying in the streets and car parts everywhere. I'm sure there's more on the way. Yeah, so are they gonna be if they and this is what I say about them making these big concrete ass stone structures. If you get to the end of the summer and you say, well, it didn't curb reckless driving, we actually still have a high rate of accidents. You can't say let's go back and just tear them down then. Because now you got these big ass concrete islands, right?
But shit, they might have to. They might have to go back and say we gotta go tear this shit down.
They might have to. It
Let
certainly
the
would
right,
be a
hey,
bad.
let the right family members, you know what I mean, fall victim to them.
And one of their people go.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. Let the right family members fall victim to them.
Tasha Holmes said we have paid for them to replace more warning plaques on those extended curves. The ones on 35th have been knocked down 2 times since they put them up. This is another plot to raise taxes. We're paying for the extended curves time 10. Yeah. And what you really supposed to be paying for is to have a street. There's some streets over here by me that I just won't drive down. I just don't understand it. And this ain't year 1, 2, or 3, because I've been over here about 10 years now, maybe we getting up there now. I think we might have been here about 10 years. And these neighborhoods have been shitty since I moved over. Like I'm talking about pothole wise. I'm like, dude, this is impossible. I don't understand how the people who live on these streets don't say something. It is it's horrible. But you got these things put in place quickly, right? And they did put the signs up on them. I did see that. It's Outlaw Radio, big picture, man. I hope y'all, can gather something from the show. There's a number attached to the show. It's 262-202-5131. There's also a Cash App down there. I'm working with some editors, trying to get some editing and some video work done. Now would be a perfect time for you to hit that Cash App and say, Kev, keep the party going. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, we appreciate the kind of jingle, but we appreciate the kind of fold. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, go and give Kev some money. No, I'm just kidding. I'm gonna have the Outlaw Radio t-shirts coming back, man. I'm about to get those up and running. I got to get back on my conscious clothing line. I got some more stuff I want to show y'all. Got a lot of positive feedback for my Gucci shirt. People was like, I can't believe you actually put that on. Hey, but it was real Gucci because I made it, right? It was my Gucci. She says, I'm taking the expressway everywhere now. Yeah, you gotta see the access points for the expressway don't make sense a lot of times. Like if I want to go downtown, it don't make sense for me to go all the way up to highway 124th and get on the expressway and then
Maybe safer.
three roads to get back downtown
Hey, maybe
and
safer.
still get off on the street where the shit's happening at. I might get hit trying to get back to the expressway. I don't know, Kamar. It might be safer, you know. It might be. It might be.
Instead of riding through the city, you know what I mean?
Man. It is a lot going on, man. I'm telling you, it's enough to make you go crazy. I truly understand Grandmaster Flash, and he said, "Don't push me because I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose my head." Right? That shit make more sense to me every day because I'm like, dude, especially with the deaths. I seem like every day I wake up now, it's like, damn, I don't even want to look at Facebook. If my phone ring early in the morning, I'm like, oh shit, I don't want to answer that because I'm thinking there's probably gonna be some news that I don't want to get. But another thing I want to talk to y'all tonight. I got a couple things before we get out of here. I don't think this show will be one of those big 3-hour things, but you never can tell. I have a very important show coming up. Because I've always given it up for hip hop music. And I keep saying hip hop is like the soundtrack to my life. And I think our cultural contributions from my generation have been tremendous in terms of hip hop, right? In the positive parts of it. But I got a show coming up next week. Shout out to Terrence Tillman. He hollered at me about interviewing his brother Geechee Dan, who's on Rock the Bells Radio on Sirius XM Satellite. He's a New Yorker, East Coast dude, goes all the way back to the old school. Just been involved in hip hop, did radio a lot. So I'm gonna have him on next Wednesday. Y'all will see the flyer. We're gonna have a conversation about hip hop. But Tupac Shakur got a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame today.
Yeah.
And Tupac's sister was actually here last Saturday. Like I said, shout out to Jasmine Tyler. She making it happen, man. She got the Wisconsin Fest coming in. I don't know where they at with the lock-ins. But you moderated that. I got a caller. Caller, where you calling from? What's your name?
Hey man, how you doing? This is Dion.
Dion, I got to lock you in because I keep saying that. Now you like this motherfucker don't know my number by now. What's good with you, homie?
Yeah. Man, I was just I can relate to what you're saying about like when you said Grandmaster Flash, like don't push me. Because believe it or not, man, and I'm gonna keep it real. All of us, black people that live in the inner city and every city around the country, we gonna suffer from post-traumatic syndrome. You know what I'm saying though? If you ain't, like you said, I ain't watched the news really since COVID. How I get all my information is, like you said, I'll be on YouTube or I see somebody put it on Facebook. But it is disparaging and depressing every day to see somebody being murdered, to see somebody being killed by a car. And like you said the other day when we got off the airwaves and we was talking about the little child that got killed, man, she rest in peace. It was 4 juveniles that got shot up in Memphis. In New Jersey, a guy, he killed some alderman or whatever she was. Every day it's really stressful and it's triggering, and sometimes it can push you to the edge to make you more aggressive because it makes you feel like, am I next? You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna lie to you. I got some money. And the only reason I ain't got an arsenal of weapons because I got a felony. But other than that, if I ain't have a felony, then I have an arsenal of weapons. Every night when I come home, I stay off 79th Street around the corner from Madison. And when I pull in my driveway, I get a little apprehensive. Now, it ain't nothing but really like Asians and stuff that live on my block, but it's some younger guys that live across the street. And, I be seeing the guys that they kick it with. And, I don't know, they just make me apprehensive, And I got a lot to lose, though. I got a job, I own a home. I see a future for myself. I don't want to go back to prison. I did 2.5 years in prison. I don't never want to go back to prison. You know what I'm saying? I don't never want to go back. But I don't want nobody to hurt me neither. You understand what I'm saying? That's just like I was telling my guy, if I decide to up and move like to Alabama, Mississippi, or one of them, I'm going to have me some guns down there. I'll just be a felon with a firearm. Because I ain't gonna play with the white folks. You know what I'm saying? Y'all rather do me and I'm gonna do y'all. But it's just sad though that every day, even when I be coming home, I try to go certain ways because normally I come off 43. I used to get off on Good Hope, but Good Hope tore up. I come straight up Good Hope. And then when I get right there by like Sherman and Good Hope or Tony and Good Hope, I get kind of apprehensive because I'm thinking either been 2 or 3 deaths on Sherman and Good Hope. One was a dude who was running from the police, ran into a semi truck. The other one, I think he ran into a city truck, and I forgot the other one. But it's like death and carnage all over the city, man. And it really does make you kind of apprehensive and nervous and make you a little stressed out. You know, like when them kids, like I'll never forget, right? I think it was about 4 or 5 years. It probably wasn't even that long. On Sherman, like on 42nd and Townsend. Remember that guy shot into that car and killed that little girl? Could you imagine sitting in the back seat with your little sister or your little brother, somebody shoot in the car and his brain matter splattering your face, on your mouth and all that? You got to grow up with that. You're not going to be right. You're not going to be right. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like that little girl, like look at us. We 45, 46, 47. That little girl was 1 year old. She probably couldn't even say her name all the way yet. She had never had no kids. She never graduated high school. She never make no accomplishments. And a lot of times, you know, I look at the bigger picture sometimes when young black men and women get killed. Those people could start generations of people. You know what I'm saying? One black man, one sister, they had 6 kids, and they had other kids. And that's our lineage, even though it's, you know, not from us, but black people. It's our lineage. And the more that we kill each other, you know what I'm saying, the smaller our lineage is being, you know. And it is sad and it's hurtful, man. And, you know, I ain't going to lie, I'm like you. You know what I'm saying? Like you guys in a way. I still be thugging it. You know, like I'll be like, I'm a hood nigga for life. Woo, woo, woo. You know what I'm saying? I still be thugging it, gang banging sometimes. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it don't make no sense. But, you know, because my mentality, and in a way, I haven't left that way because you got to still have some of that savage in you out here to survive. I know if I got to get out on a nigga ass, I got to go put on all black, make sure I don't touch some shell cases, put some gloves on, and I got to get out here and I got to do what I got to do if it comes to that. But I don't never want it to come to that because I don't want to go to sleep every night knowing that I did something like this and knowing that one day me driving this truck or me coming home to my house or me buying my Jordans or me going out of town, it could be taken away from me because they could come and be like, Mr. Such and such, we got you for murder. You understand what I'm saying? And now everything that I saved up and I accumulated got to go to try to fight a defense fund. And I'm 45 years old. I can't do no 20 years, man.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I can't do a day. But it is just so disparaging and it's so heartbreaking just to see us as the people. I don't know what to say, man. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what to say. And like when I was saying that, you know, I don't want to be in Milwaukee no more. I just want to, like, how these white people living out here, I'm coming through 45, right? At 45, it's thinking I'm coming from Oshkosh when I get off in Eden. And, you know, these people living out here on farms, and they just so relaxed. And, you know, I know it's crime everywhere. You know, a drunk driver could be coming down the wrong way, hit you and kill you. But I'd rather for that to happen for me to be brushing my teeth and washing my dishes and a bullet that wouldn't mentally come through my house and take my life away. You know, if somebody that I love, like I tell my girl, just go in the house and just try to do necessary runs because the more you out there on the street, the more it gives you an opportunity to be hit with somebody or hit in an accident or killed. You know, like I don't like driving my car. I prefer driving my van because my van is bigger and if somebody hit me, they can take more of a brunt force than my Impala can. You know, I'm sitting low. Somebody coming 90 miles an hour T-bone me, it's over. You understand what I'm saying? So it's the same that we almost got to use like penitentiary ways to survive out here on the streets. Like, don't go that way. Be in the house at a certain time. Don't do this. Drive this certain type of vehicle.
Right.
And another thing before I let you go, I remember back in the days, like you were saying earlier, you know, people used to be like, well, if you move, you a sellout and this, that, and the other. But you also got to realize, though, that you want to live around people that got just as much as you do or more than you do. Because if you living around somebody that got less than you do, they gonna come get what you got. You understand what I'm saying? They gonna come take it, and that's just law. That's just like food. If one dog got more food than the other, guess what? The other dogs gonna come get that food. But if everybody equally got the same food, then 9 times out of 10, they not gonna come over there. You know what I'm saying? Because like I tell people all the time, rich hang with the rich, the bums hang with the bums, sticker man with sticker men. So you wanna be around people of your caliber and not saying that if you're not making a certain amount of money, you're not living a certain type of way. But I just feel more because you might not want to come take what I got, but your neighbor might want to come take what I got. And you know, in certain circumstances, some people be ready to die and defend theirs though. You understand what I'm saying? But man, it's just I'm not too big of a prayer, but I'm glad that every day I don't ever want to come on here and you or one of them be like, man, such and such, something happened, and I'll be like, damn, me and bro, them, like I know Bull because we went to school together, we went to Hamilton, but I ain't never met you in real, but I love to meet y'all, but I hate for to come on here and be like, well, such and such happened, right. And I'll be like, damn, man, I never got to meet them brothers. Like every time I see Joe, he don't tell me nothing but positive things about you. You know what I'm saying? Because me and Joe be chopping it up, and I met that brother. He a good brother. You know what I'm saying? He come up to my job, and he got another route now. But he come up to my job, and we talk, and I be telling him like, Joe, man, travel, live your life, man. You only got one life to live, man. And he started getting away and been down in New Orleans and stuff. And it's camaraderie, man. It's brotherhood. You understand what I'm saying? And I love it though, Kev. That's why I tune in every night, man. But I'm gonna let y'all go. Tune back in on YouTube, man. You brothers try to keep y'all head up. Y'all stay out the way. You know what I'm saying? And hopefully, man, 10 years down the line, we'll be somewhere on about 5 or 6 acres, 8 or 9, 10 acres. I don't know how many other acres you want, because you know what I'm saying? Maybe we all come together, buy us 100 acres and build us some land and start our own little sub-community. And we know ain't no bullshit. And once you go out of whatever we name it, once you go out of here, if something happens to your ass, that's on you. But once you up in here, you say so. You understand what I'm saying? So y'all keep it up, man.
All right, man. Peace out to you.
All right, bro. Yes, sir. Love.
Man. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Hey, on the real, shout out to Dion. Dion rocks with the show. Dion will be in the chat room when I'm setting the show up. Like, Cat, what's that? I'm like, dude, hey, how did you get in here? Like, I don't even know how he got in. Let me catch my chat room because I want to talk about what Dion said, but I still want to talk about Tupac. Mama Jenkins said Hillside was gone since 2000. Just look at Brewer Hill. Those homes are owned by blacks, and those whites have come in there and bought up everything. Yes, I was working for V100. I was working for Clear Channel as an ad executive way back in about 2003. And I was going down through Brewer Hill with the developments because they wanted to get some time on the station to advertise the development, and they had totally redone it. Like I'm telling you, they had made some of those homes. I was like, wow, like real life, real modern is real slick down there. So she's definitely correct. And I said I worked in Hillside, and they've been letting them know. Tasha Holmes said I stopped watching news during the COVID epidemic too. Yeah, because the news just became so slippery where they didn't even care about saying one thing one night and then totally crossing or contradicting themselves the next night. It's like, dude, there's no real validity here. Like I would hear it's just like I'm not even watching this shit no more. So
the motherfuckers racist too.
Yeah, well, yeah, we know that.
You know what I mean? Like I was watching Fox 6 today, and remember the guy that just shot the cop? It was a guy that just shot a cop who was in the shootout with him, shooting out their house and shit at the police, right? They ain't even put his mug shot on TV. They ain't even let you know it was a white man that they was shooting with. You know what I mean? That made it. And then in the same fucking news episode, it was a white lady in her basement. Her landlord called the police on her because he heard her drilling in the wall in the basement, right? Police go down there to apprehend her. She starts shooting at her. She went alive too. They didn't put her mug shot on TV either. But right after that, you know what I mean? The brother they was looking for, who shot the 1-year-old baby or something like that, his black mug shot go right up on TV. You know what I mean? These motherfuckers racist as fuck, man. And they doing that shit on purpose.
Narrative twisters. Tasha Holmes said we are slowly becoming prisoners in our own home. We don't want to go. You just like, man, what time is it? I just do that shit in the morning. Right? Like I remember back in the day, we rode all night. Right, man, we out of gas. Go to the gas station. You don't catch me no gas station, no goddamn 12 o'clock at night now. I'm not just asking for trouble. You can get this stuff and knocked out your egg McMuffin. John Fletcher said Dion was keeping it real. Dion does do that. If nothing else, Dion keep it rough and raw. I mean, I'm not still gang banging, but I feel him on that. And I don't even, because I've walked away from a whole bunch of shit, and so that's part of it as well. I mean, I am what I am. I am who I am, right? But I don't feel the need to, like, there's no reason. That's one of those things that was very dumb of me to say, because you wear your hat in a different direction, I got beef with you. The dumbest shit ever invented. I can't even believe I feel like I'm too damn smart to have fallen for that, even though I know it's a bigger picture. I know it's a bigger picture, and I know what the culmination of it was, but just the basis of it was, you know what I mean? Where I just was like, dude, I don't like dude because he got his hat a certain way.
Like, I'm gonna find any reason to not like a motherfucker, right?
Right, and I wanted to lump him in and say that's how they be. See, that's how they be.
His hat.
Right. JoJo said, "Big facts, Dion. Big facts, family. Mad love." He said, "I'm definitely with that big black community, Dion." And so, you know, like, once again, shout out to Joey, because Joey I've known Joey, man. Joey probably knew me before I knew me, right? Like, that's how long I've known JoJo, right? Like, he was just one of them dudes who I just always knew. I don't remember a point in my life when I didn't know Joey, but I will give Joey a lot of credit for this. Even as a youngster, Joey was pretty much looked at as the leader of our neighborhood, right? Our block, at least. When you talked about the young cats, Joey was the one who had the most status, but he carried himself very classy. Like, and he knew, because I would follow him around, just like, because I just wanted to be around JoJo, right? I would follow him around, but he always was willing to tell me, hey, little dude, you don't want to do this. Hey, little Kev, if I was on one, he'd be like, look, Kev, man, don't be out here like that, man. Come on, little Kev, you know. But it was always that I'm not going to be a certain way. I'm a lead like this. So I always got a lot of positive stuff from Joey. I tell the story all the time, like, just being very, very encouraged by Joey when I was a youngster. Boy, you can play some football. That's what you need to be doing, little dude. You are phenomenal. And I was a little guy, like, what? We've had this conversation where I said, well, what was you seeing? He's like, I'm just seeing a little dude that was just like born. It was just natural. So it was my job to kind of say, forget all that other stuff, Kev. You need to put your eggs over here, man. You got like real talent. So shout out to JoJo, man. That's always been my brother, man. I told Joey I'm gonna come over there. We gotta rock, Joey. We gotta do some kind of little cookout or something. Or you come out here, man. You and EP, y'all come on out, man. We gotta do something, man. Because we're leaving. And so we gotta do something, man. We gotta do something. Tasha Holmes said, I've turned my backyard into my own boom boom room. Ben, stop hanging out. Yes. Listen, I used to love to go out and kick it because I love to see black people party. Like, ain't no party like a good black party with some good music playing and people dancing. But if it's gonna be pew 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 and this kind of thing, I just don't need to go. So my garage is like Club Kev, right? Like, I thought about it, like, I haven't been in a bar in almost 6 years. It's been a long time. And this from a dude who stayed somewhere at a bar. Talking about, let me get a... So, and I have no desire to go. I wish there was some place that, you know, with live music or whatever that I can go and enjoy, right? Like some good blues or something, but that'll come. We'll find a way. But you're definitely right, Tasha Holmes. I agree with that. You got to really, now your home has to be your castle. You got to be able to say, man, ain't no need for me to shit what I'm up in there for. Everything I need right here, baby. Come on in.
There it go. That's how it go.
Yeah, and Rail got the whole pole in his basement, so
it's still over there.
Look at that.
And then this shit, I just added the yeast to my I'm making a mead. So that's basically
English malt liquor.
Well, it's a honey wine. So basically, the difference between wine and mead is wine uses sugar as the fermentable sugars, and mead uses honey as the fermentable sugars. So this is my first try with a mead to see if I can get this shit cracking, man. But yeah, the wines I've been making, they've been the best shit I done ever drank as far as wine. Because I don't know what they sell us at the store, but now the homemade shit got me realizing that wine and that Carlos Rossi and that Stella Rose be kind of watered down and shit.
Oh, Carlos Rossi. Top of the line, Ryan, Carlos Rossi. E40 shit from back in the days. Let me see. Dion said, I don't be like that gang banging. I just represent. You know what? Like I said, I am who I am, right? And there's enough people who would say, when they mention my name, will put me in a certain group and say that's whoever Kev, right? Like, and I ain't ashamed of it at all. I don't give a shit. I mean, it is what it is. I'm just saying I made up my mind a long time ago that I'm bigger than that. Like, that's a part of my past, and I'm still, there's principles that I learned. There's a lot of things that I've gathered from my experiences and from some of the real OG homies who was really giving it up. But I don't even wear hats no more, right? Like, I don't, you know what I'm saying? I used to, if I bought a ball cap now, my wife would look at me like, what the hell is you doing? Like, as a matter of fact, about, I would say 10 years ago, because when I met my wife in the 90s, I always had a cap on, right? I call it a cap. That show you how old I am. I just had it, and my wife, she knew that, but I must have went and just on a whim one day was in the mall and just bought a hat. And I came home and it's like, I got ridiculed by her and my kids. Like, you look good. I'm like, what y'all talking about? This is a freshman. Oh my goodness. She was like, dude, what are you doing? Like, I think it ended up in the back of my car, like in the back window. I used to be driving around that.
Damn.
Just like in the back window of my car. But yeah. No, I don't. If you ask me, if it came up in conversation, if you said, I said, nah, man, that ain't what we do. I mean, I do it all the time. Growth and development, that ain't what we. That ain't what we do. I mean, in my neighborhood, in my family, like we don't. But that don't mean you're a bad dude, right? I mean, I'm certainly not to square up with you about that shit now. Even if you was like, I'll beat you, I was like, really? It's got to be something else you want to fight me for.
Hey, kid, you know what I see? I look back, and I look at all the principles. Think about both, you know what I mean? All the differences, the principles that they originally had or whatever, they all really make sense. You know what I mean? They all deal with growing up. You know what I mean? Like developing your mind into a grown man type shit. You know what I'm saying? And that's what growth and development was all about. That can fit anybody. I think it sucked that, you know what I mean? We was young, we took shit like that and held it to ourselves. Like, you know what I mean? Like all the principles that y'all come up with, the principles that we come up with, that was shit that we all was supposed to be embracing.
Right. And a lot of those messages were about solidarity and brotherhood.
Yeah.
And kinship. And it was about, to be, like I said, it's a fraternity. And this is why I joke around with him a lot, but I love talking to Sean more because Sean and I have had some very, very important conversations around our neighborhood and our affiliations and what they were intentionally organized as and what they actually became. So yeah, you're right. There were certain things in there that I felt like I could identify with them. So I said, I'm gonna ride with this.
Like how, the peace.
But I feel like it was tunnel vision at its finest because, like you said, if we'd have just took those principles and applied them to life in general, you still would have got something out of it, and so it's just crazy, man. It's
I mean, when you talk about the different lit, like the P's, proper preparation prevents poor performance. You know what I mean? Like the shit was meant to propel us in life.
Right. Yeah. That's
what I'm saying. We took that shit and we just memorized shit and just threw it out the window. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it became, well, I'm gonna fight you because of this, right? And so, like, I remember very vividly that there was a time when a lot of us were just, your families were struggling. So if a brother had something, he was obliged to do for his homie. So I can't be at school fresh to death every day and you downtrodden. I got to say, hey, man, I'm gonna show you how to get this. I'm gonna show you how to get some money, or I'm gonna let you wear some of mine. Like, because one of the mantras was you had to be clean. Like, you supposed to be clean. You can't. With us, it was like we don't do bums. You can't be bummy. You ain't never seen one of us be raggedy. And so it was just these things, man, that came with it. Y'all got me off my square. Just reminiscing. Jojo said, yes, Kev, we're gonna hook up for that, my brother. He said, I'm with Tasha. And my yard is my fun time. Yes, man. I just last week, man, I was putting my little garden thing together, and I had me some kebabs on the grill. And my wife always mad at me because she said you can't just light the grill for one. I got to empty out the freezer. Everything down there that's meat going on the grill. So, but it was good though. It was great. I had to put my My daughter, she had to go. She had to audition for this big color purple thing, so she was leaving, and my son was on the road playing basketball, so it was just me and wifey. So I just, hooked it up.
That's dope. That's dope.
Yeah. Kerry Walker Jones. Shout out to Kerry Walker Jones because she was involved in the conversation last week, and I didn't get her comments in. So I apologize for that. She said, my grown kids put a tent in my backyard and they party in that. I love it. Yeah. Keep them at home. Keep them at home. Tasha Holmes says employment opportunities every first Wednesday, and she's leaving a link. Okay. You can send me that information and I'll share it in the People's News Network, which is our sister group. If you ain't in the People's News Network, you got to get with us. That is a group that I came up with years ago at the advice of my cousin Nicole Mallet. And she had told me, and I'm just not very savvy with social media and was really worse then. And she said, well, cuz you got to try to get like-minded people together. So you want a group where you can share information with people, like, black people, black news, because that's what your show is about. And so I came up with the People's News Network. It used to be called the 414 Freedom Gang. That's what it used to be called. But then I changed it to the People's News Network. So if you're not in that group, get in that group, man. And I even opened it up this year because a lot of other platforms are in there as well. So you don't just have to listen to Outlaw Radio. There's so many platforms, especially if you're from Milwaukee and I see you up in there. By the way, I want to say this too, because we got Kamar and I don't know if I don't know who, I know Outlaw Radio is going to be invited to the Call to Action podcast with Ticey Gossi and Crystal Ship. So I'm gonna be outside. I'm gonna go. I'm actually honored that somebody would invite us. So we're gonna be on there. So you'll see that, and that'll be in the People's News Network as well. She said,
unfortunately, they only had 2 seats. I had asked that. I went back and asked. They only had 2 seats.
Okay. Well, it's all in the game. I mean, as they say, as we grow, we'll get better and better as we grow. So it's all good. I'm pretty sure we'll be able to hold it down. But Rel, maybe you just might call in on the jack or something. I'm inviting people to shit, and I ain't even, actually we ain't got no phone, nigga. So bring your cell. Like, I don't know, but I just want y'all to tune into the show. I think it's gonna be a dope look. I think it'll be a real great conversation. There's nothing more soothing for me than for real black men and black women to have a real intelligent, mature, enlightened, progressive conversation. That's always a good time. You know what I'm saying? She said, this is Tasha. She said, I get a lot of community resource information. Yes, join my group and put it in there, please. But I wanted to talk about Tupac because he got a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame posthumously.
Well deserved.
What up? Speaking of my cousin, there she is. She said, thanks for the shout out. All love, family. All love. My cousin Nicole Mallet, like I said, and she's given me a lot of great pointers over the years. Just watching me trying to do this, she's always been forthcoming with information. So much love for my cousin. But no, they put the thing up for Tupac. Now the thing about Tupac is an industry, right? And we look at Tupac the rapper, and fortunately enough, I remember being young enough to see his arrival into the game and then all the way up to his death. Like in terms of his music, I remember when he was still alive. A lot of people who talk about Tupac now, we're not even old enough to really remember when he was dropping shit, right? Like they'll talk about some of the stories, but they wasn't even around when it happened, right? And then you got a lot of older cats who was around him that now on YouTube can garner thousands upon thousands of views just by talking about it, right? So I started to think about, and I hear people talk about, he did this and he got killed. He was the cause of his own death. And Suge is the reason why he died, and he wasn't a gangster, and he wasn't a street nigga, and he be up. Like I hear all these different kinds of things. So in the spirit of hip hop being 50 years old, once again, you'll hear some very, very great conversation next Wednesday. And I have my brother Geechee Dan on here from Sirius XM. But when I think about Tupac and I say, okay, well, how do I see him? How do I view Tupac? And I mean, this is a rapper, right? For all intents and purposes, a street rapper who has a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. He's been dead, 27 years almost 30 years. And there's these debates about who is the better rapper, and I see people coming out saying, well, Tupac is the reason Biggie's dead, and And I say, what has made this man so impactful on now going on the third generation, right? My son will laugh almost at everything I play old school, but Tupac. He'll rock with Tupac. Like, and so I said, man, this brother has had an impact beyond impact. So I had to look at the big picture for this, right? What is the big picture with Pac? And it's his message, but it's also his passion that he had. And, the fact that the brother was a baby, 25 years old when he perished, having accomplished so much. I mean, you're going to make mistakes when you're that young, right? Like that's what you pretty much do. But I think about some of the interviews, some of the lyrics and stuff he said. And I say, man, this dude he's bigger than hip hop. He is bigger than any black artist we have ever had. At this point, I don't know of an artist. You could say James Brown, but James Brown music hasn't aged as well as Tupac's has. You could say Marvin Gaye and have a real legitimate argument, but he wasn't as impactful in the neighborhoods as Tupac was. You could say Prince, but I don't think Prince is even in the same vein as Pac in terms of his real appeal to the people. I'm not saying Prince wasn't, because Prince is a genius. But there was a certain level where we didn't rock with Prince on. Like, we wasn't going through the Blood Out jeans and
I think Tupac might have been the first artist that I've known to really show how vulnerable they are, like to open up, to show who they are. You know what I'm saying? Because like he showed different facets of them, and that's how we all built. Most motherfuckers, you see, look at most rappers, they just want to play the tough role, or they just want to be the teacher. You know what I mean? But shit, sometimes we got issues and shit. This shit going on, and you know what I mean? We ain't always the richest motherfuckers. Sometimes we just on the 8 ball. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Tupac, you know what I mean? And then I feel bad for my sister over here. She just had a baby and didn't know what to do, so she threw it in the garbage can. And you know what I mean? He put emotion, he put feeling, he put himself out there.
Right. And I think it stings. And I'm going into hip hop now. And this is what I'm gonna, since my brother Geechee Dan and Terrence Tillman, I know they're, some real East Coast. I love the East Coast too, but the conversation, because I hear a lot of venom coming from the East Coast about Tupac a lot, right? And I say, first of all, there's some misnomers. You're right, Mama Jenkins. All eyes on me. I never heard a greater. And believe me, I'm a hip hop connoisseur. I have heard literally thousands of hip hop songs and albums. I've heard nothing that's as good as All Eyes on Me. People can say what they want. I haven't heard anything that, because you can turn it on right now and it's like, damn, this should still go, right? Like, and so musically, it's that part of it. But like people say, well, he started the East Coast, West Coast. Well, he actually didn't. If you know hip hop, you know that New York has sent volleys years before Tupac was even on. Fuck Compton by Tim Dog came out in 1991. Or no, actually 1990, 89, somewhere in there. Tupac was still dancing to Digital Underground.
Had beef with a clique that was from the East Coast.
Right. And the media
just so happened to be from the East Coast.
And so the whole thing that I heard Clark Kent, the DJ, famous New York DJ, saying Tupac got Biggie killed, and all this kind of stuff. And first of all, he never said what he accused him of saying. But I remember we had we had Tweet Cadillac from the Penthouse Players Clique. If you know, we had him on the show. Who was produced by Eazy-E and DJ Quick, had a real run there in the early 90s. PS Fuck You Too was one of my favorite songs. Trust No Funky Cock Hoes. I mean, you remember, I don't know if you're old enough, you remember. But he was on here and he talked about how way back when they first started touring, they would get disrespected by New York dudes a lot. Right. And like, so people say Tupac say he did not start the East Coast, West Coast beef. The fact of the matter is the brother was from New York. And I've heard a lot of old school artists. I was listening to Ghostface, Raekwon, and they were in an interview with somebody or Nori, and they didn't even know any of Tupac's music. They were saying, because I mean, they didn't listen, like, so there was this bias amongst East Coast artists, and I don't think you could blame Tupac for that. Let me see.
Always has been.
Right. Tasha said Tupac music hit home. Every song, no matter what race, could relate. Right. That's the one of the things where he had this appeal where he was emotional, like Kamar said, but not to the point where Brothers was like, I'm not fucking with him.
Right.
Like Brothers was like, nah, he on the shit about the business, and the females, right. And you don't have, I can't think of any rapper who has had this. People might say LL, but I don't think you're stretching it a bit because LL was not really a street rapper, right? He didn't rap about the hood like that per se. So I don't know that there's been any other rapper who's been able to kind of, build those two things where like all the brothers respect him and all the women want to get with him. It's usually either or the brothers love him so much, but the women be like, I don't listen to that, or the brothers be like, you listen to this soft ass shit. Mama Jenkins said Tupac and Marvin Gaye were before their times. What's going on? See, right, Mama Jenkins, and that's why I'm saying, like, if you look at what's going on, and I just happen to, I've studied black music, really, really, especially 60s and 70s is really what I've studied, right? And Marvin Gaye changed the direction of black music because it went from these love songs and these doo-wops and these parties and these dances to, hey man, let's talk about social commentary. So it's big when Marvin Gaye does What's Going On and Mercy Mercy Me. It is in the Tupac vein, right? It is. So I will agree. I still just don't think Marvin had, I just don't think he had that kind of. I mean, if you were around in the 90s at one point,
hey, but you
I
know
literally
what,
believe Tupac could have came on TV and said, "Hey, everybody meet me here tomorrow, and we gonna ride," and people would have been there waiting, like we finna roll. I believe that. So that's how polarized he had us.
Hey,
Go ahead, Kamar.
Marvin Gaye did have a lot of revolutionary music, though. You know what I mean? And like, so you think about it, like to that generation and the type of music that they listened to, Marvin Gaye almost could have been that Tupac of that generation.
It's almost like he was, though, right?
You dig what I'm saying?
Right. It's almost like he was. And I want people who are a little bit older to say, well, you missing the whole point on James Brown because he did say a lot, I'm black and I'm proud, right? And so I'm not leaving that out because that's the first shot, right? Like that's him. With James had a lot of revolutionary music as well. So I don't want to push him out, but I just think Tupac's impact was just on so many different levels because I think he was a lot more free to do what it is that he wanted to do with his music. You know what I mean? He could say whatever, we didn't have to worry about, the powers that be banning him or something like that. So I just think, and I feel like that's a very good point of reference. Is like you always have to pass the baton. My problem with hip hop now is that nobody's got the baton. I listened to Lil Durk and J. Cole today all my life. I listened to it with my son. I've listened to it a couple times, but I listened to it with him. It's a great song. And J. Cole, I've always liked J. Cole, but he just letting off, right? And it's like, ooh, I ain't heard nothing that kind of gave that kind of perspective since a Tupac, right? And so when I say Tupac, his impact, like the Hollywood star is just like, come on, man. It's the cherry on top. He says, Dion says, Me Against the World was better, Kev. Dion, you have a great argument for that. Me Against the World, because he was in jail, is super slept on. Like we talking about like my freshman year in college. So I spent like almost every day with this CD going on and on. Like the name of the show is Outlaw Radio, right? Because of the song Outlaw. Right. That's where I said, man, when I heard, I said, that's a fucking hell of a concept way back then. So you get no argument on me, man. Look, Me Against the World was, oh my goodness. It was once again on a whole different level. That's why when we talk about Marvin Gaye with some of those, with that What's Going On and that Mercy Mercy Me, it changes the direction of music because everybody became social then. After that, everybody said, I got to say something, right? And so look at the Temptations from the 60s going from, and my favorite Temptation songs are the 70s Temptations, right? Shaky Ground and stuff like that. Like it's cool with the My Girl and all that, but when you get into, Standing on the Top and you get on Shaky Ground and I can't remember my other one. Man, there's so many of them I love. But from the 70s, I had their anthology. Theirs was more social too. So it's just great. Tasha says substance abuse killed their messages, in my opinion. I don't think it was substance abuse for Tupac, though. I don't think substance abuse. Oh, she's saying maybe the whole. I don't know. What is she saying? It killed their messages. How do you mean that, my sister? Explain that to me. I don't know if you're talking about your own personal or the fact that there was a lot of talk about weed and drink, or because Marvin Gaye obviously was pretty much ruined by drugs, but Pac wasn't. Pac was undone by something else. Like he was undone by some whole, if you know the big picture, some real street shit. From what we say now, that was just, there's lines you just can't cross. And unfortunately he made a mistake, like 25-year-olds who are rich and famous do. I think I can do anything. I'm invincible. Well, they got a place for you too. Kerry Walker Jones says Tupac was real. You could reach out and touch him, which made his message relatable. I can understand how a female would say that. I don't know that I ever wanted to touch him. Pause. But I get what you're saying. He felt accessible, right? Like, because most of us never even came close to meeting him, but you felt like that was your guy, right? I even heard Scarface in his song My Block, and he say, you probably bred a fat pat of Tupac in your neighborhood. I mean, this dude who he a little wild sometimes, he a little edgy, but you love him because he'll go hard in the paint for you. He's, in terms of being a loyal friend, he's gonna be that. You're gonna have fun with him. He has a personality that people like. We all have neighborhoods where somebody like that in the neighborhood where you can just, like, that's the homie right there. That's what upset me the most about a homie like Yayo, because Yayo was a dude who had that kind of, everybody loved him. Like, he's a good dude, he come around, he's fun. I'm not saying he was Tupac, but it was that same kind of appeal. Same thing with T-Rock. I never met nobody who had no problem with that man. He had a personality where it's like, it's real cool. Like, man, dude is cool, man. So that was why I was hurt behind it. But let me see. Marvin Fletcher says "Shed So Many Tears" was a classic. Yeah, you know what? The whole discussion. I've heard Snoop say he didn't like Hit 'Em Up. I've heard Whack 100 say Hit 'Em Up was terrible, and if you like Hit 'Em Up, you a weirdo. I've heard it's all 35 years past it, but Hit 'Em Up, to me, one of the greatest parts of the song is that it's so much passion in it. It's so much emotion in it. It's so much of him saying, I am pissed beyond pissed, right? And we're gonna go in the studio and get this shit off. Now, do I agree? Do I agree? Well, not with everything. I mean, but I think, your enemy is your enemy. Right? So was it, we wasn't giving a shit then when he said, fuck your bitch, you fat. We was like, ooh, because he was young. Well, no, now you saying, oh, it was just wrong for him to say that. It's like, come on, man. And this comes from people who were gangbangers. Like, I really feel like Snoop got to go back and look at his whole catalog before he can say he didn't like Hit 'Em Up, because he said some really counter-progressive shit to us. I mean, you had a song called "Bitches Ain't Shit But Hoes and Tricks," but you don't like Hit 'Em Up.
Right.
Whack 100 is a whole blood. You a gang member. All you talk about is banging on people, like, but you don't like Hit 'Em Up. Like, so I'm just saying, I just think, some people just weren't there. They weren't there, so they don't know. And I could tell, like Dion, I could tell you was there because you hurry up and said, man, Me Against the World was, because you had the song Me Against the World, Shed So Many Tears, Temptations. Oh my goodness, man. Outlaw, just Fuck the World. Like that, just that album alone, is rappers can't even get to that level now. So yeah, man, definitely impactful, man. What come on, I know that's part of your generation too. When you think about Pac now, I mean, did you ever even think that this would just be like, that little dude would be 30 years from now still the biggest thing in rap and he's dead?
No, I never thought it. I mean, but you know what I mean? I was probably one of the biggest Tupac fans also. But you know what I mean? You just never think like that, because we don't think of the future like that with music. You know what I'm saying? We may now that we older, you know what I'm saying? And that's where pretty much how you judge good music. You know what I mean? The music that stand the test of time. You really don't know it until time passed.
Right.
And a lot of the time, though, but a lot of the time, you know, like you said, people look at Tupac and they really have no clue. You know what I'm saying? Like, we understand how he was born into probably the biggest part of the Black Panther Party. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was destined to be something powerful. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is what you grow up into. You learning this type of information growing up. You know what I mean? Come on, man. You know, and he can rap. And his
Yeah.
mother got him saying whatever the hell come to his mind. You know what I'm saying?
But when you talk about this brother coming up around Matula Shakur and all these real revolutionaries like these, and them dudes wasn't rappers, right? And all these different people his mom had him around. I'm just saying, you know, now Kamar, you just gave me a new perspective when you said, well, he was gonna be something, right? So, but I hear a lot of hate a lot of times from people. You know, I've had so many different discussions about hip hop, and I've even had some with people who are East Coast really, and I always enjoy it. Just these really East Coast aficionados who are just about, you know, the boom bap and whatnot, which is also very great. But I just think Tupac he's because we didn't have civil rights leaders for the most part in our generation. You know, they did a good job of killing them off. And so what we had was the rappers. So as a rapper, Tupac kind of held the banner for all of that. He was like an activist. He was like an entertainer. He was like, you know, a movie star. He was kind of like a beacon for our generation to say, hey man, shit, this shit's still real. Like, you know, so I just, you know, just thinking about it.
I think he kept it alive. You know what I mean? Like, as far as like Black Power. You know what I'm saying? He kept that going. Cause see, remember, they killed that in hip hop. You know what I'm saying?
Gangsta rap killed it, yeah.
Yeah, they killed that in hip hop. You know what I mean? We can't see gangster rap didn't kill it. Them people who were signing the gangster rappers killed it. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I say gangster rap kill it because we jumped
but it was
first into gangster rap.
Yeah, I get it. I get what you said.
We said as listeners, we don't want to hear that shit no more.
Right.
By not buying it.
Right. Then that shit would have stopped. You know what I mean? But you
right.
know what I mean? But that was a thing at some point. You know what I mean? Understanding your blackness, loving yourself. You know what I mean? Loving your people.
Yeah.
And Pop kept that alive. You know what I mean? And I think if it wasn't for Pop, we'd have been fucked up for real. Cause like we may have never woke some shit up, got some shit woken up in us. You know what I'm saying? Tupac sparked a lot, man. Like you said, he sparked that fire.
Game changer. Real, you're a little bit younger, but I mean you were at least they say you was conscious. But I know you're more of a 2000s dude. So I mean, when you think about Tupac now, I mean, what's your recollection? Like, what do you think about it?
Shit, I remember the day the news came out that he died. I was actually on the school bus headed to Morris, and motherfuckers was crying and shit, and like, you know, talking about him like he was a prophet back then, you know, and I guess, you know, that's how a lot of people felt. Honestly, I used to hear my uncle and cousin play Tupac because my cousin, that was one of her favorite people. But you know, as far as the songs, like I said before, the songs that I liked was like Brenda's Got a Baby. Like I remember Pac dancing in the Digital Underground video. You know, that was my first experience of Tupac. So then when he came out with then I think next I heard I Get Around, and he had Shock G on that one, you know. But I honestly, when he was doing his thing, I was more so into Midwest chopping. I was listening to Bone and Do or Die, and then it progressed to 3-6 Mafia, which then kept me in the whole Memphis and down south. You know, my shit's always been country shit, Memphis, you know, down south shit. So even when they was playing Pac, it was like, okay, you know, I could listen to them, you know, but I never felt compelled to cut them on. You know, I was rather cutting on some Chicago pimp shit.
Yeah. I think it's a generational thing for us where if you're gonna play any CD first, you playing Tupac. I don't give a damn who got an album out. And you be riding with your homies who may have loved all of the groups you said, but they say, "Hey man, don't you got Pac shit? Well, put that Tupac on, bro." I mean, because I just you wasn't really gonna ride up with the females and have 3 6 Mafia talking about doing cocaine and reading the Ouija board. Like it was better to have Pac with Temptation. So, but I get what you're saying.
That's when you had Twister on, feel so good and shit like that.
Right. Yeah, let's listen to a song about you being pimped and me being the pimp.
Hey,
Sit back and relax.
with it.
Earl, yeah, that's what sparked the conversation. Earl, they just gave him his star in Hollywood, which I don't put a whole lot of value on Hollywood, but I just think the impact that the brother had is still to this day ongoing. Mama Jenkins said Pac was the rapper. I was never a fan of rap, but Pac changed that. I learned a lot by listening to his music. I think a lot of us got something out of it. And I think that's why people revere him, especially like I said, if you were a young person who was out here in the streets. I was grown for some of this shit. I was actually in the clubs and in the streets and doing a lot of the shit he was talking about.
Hey, remember back in the kid, but you can remember this too. Pac had old heads rocking to him.
That's true.
You
Especially
could turn
old women
Pac on in an old club and they would be bopping to his music or something, man.
Depending on what song. I mean, you know.
You know what I mean? Or you could be somewhere at a family reunion and play Pac, and they be bobbing their head to him. You know what I'm saying?
Man, old women say,
everybody love Pac, man.
Old women say, "Oh, he was so fine." Like she don't care about the song or nothing. She just, I like his little bald head self.
Everybody love Pac.
Real, you referenced the South, so I guess today or coming up pretty soon is the 30th anniversary of UGK. Actually, Underground Kings, and once again, this is why I talk about hip hop a lot because I still put Pimp C's production and some of the songs and some of the music that UGK did right up under Tupac. Not over. Not over. But in the same vein.
I can understand that.
And I go back with UGK all the way back to, I think I may have even heard UGK before I heard Pac, maybe. Because Too Hard to Swallow, I believe, was like 1990. Like, so we were really on that then. But 30 years, Pimp C has been dead. Almost a dub now, 2007. Bun B is, if you follow, he's gone on to become an icon in hip hop. But yeah, 30 years of UGK, man, and UGK's revered. I've heard people say negative things about Pimp C and some of his topic matter. But I think Pimp C is one of them dudes who's kind of like Pac in that he was this dude who had a voice. And sometimes you had to really listen to him very closely to get a meaning because he could be downright offensive off top. Like I've heard Pimp C say some stuff in the song where I'd be like, dude, really? But then he'll like come behind that and say something that made a whole lot of sense. You say, I gotta go see a man about a dog and sell him a cat. That's Bun B. I gotta see a man about a dog and sell him a cat. If you don't know, that's that. I'm just saying. It was always a jewel, and sometimes if I'm just feeling reckless and I just want to feel crazy again, I'll put on Cocaine in the Back of the Ride, or I'll put on Murder, and I'll listen to them songs. And I know that this is not positive, and this is not. It's like me watching certain movies. Like I watch certain movies that have no social significance, right? Like what did I watch the other day? I watched Commando with Arnold Schwarzenegger the other day. Just for shits, and they killed like 300 people in the movie. But I watched it and laughed. I thought it gets cornier and cornier as I get older. But I remember being a kid seeing it saying, whoa, like, you know what I mean? But so yeah, there's room for that. But there's a lot of great hip hop has made such an impact that there's been some dudes who've come and left a mark, but I just don't think any of them are on the same level as Pac. I don't culturally, I don't see one individual who was able to do what he did with the music. I just don't see it, right? Like, and people say, well, Kev, I can name off and this and that and whatever. That's get you a podcast and you can talk about that shit on your show. Right? Around here, Pac is the GOAT as far as we're concerned, right? And like I said, I'm still UGK alum. Like I still think MJG is so underrated. Like I still think MJG is probably one of the coolest rappers you will ever hear with a message.
Mm-hmm.
MCG will tell you something in a rhyme, right?
Yep.
And he just don't get his credit. But that's kind of like my criticism of some of the platforms we got. I listen to Rock the Bells all the time, and there's a bias for East Coast music on there. I'll have that conversation with Geechee Dan next Wednesday when he come on. But yeah, man, my brother, man, got his star, which don't mean nothing in the hood, but I'm glad he is. I'm glad he's being recognized. And like I said, we're not going to stay on here all night tonight. The only other thing that I really want to listen, I had put an article up about Walmart on Brown Deer closing. That was an old article. I took it down. I deleted it instantly. That from 2012. And I seen other people. It had legs. It had ran across Facebook. But people like, "Oh, they'll close Brown Deer and go back on Silver Spring." That's
Man,
an
I was
old
happy.
article.
I was getting my Walmart back. I'm like, yes, because this shit is inconvenient as hell. Running the
It's from
centuries of pick and
2012.
space.
Yes, it's from 2012. It's a wrap for Walmart, y'all. It's a wrap for them. So yeah, I want to make that correction. And then the last question, something I've been thinking about. Where is MPS going to go from here? Milwaukee Public Schools. Big picture, right? A piss poor school system has a lot to do with what's going on in the city. A school system that's underserving our youth has a big part to do with what's going on in the city. And I say that because I know it's hard for people to believe, but when I went to MPS still worked, right? And I went to MPS from the early 80s to the mid 90s, right? And it still worked. It was the last kind of vestige of, and I do understand the families changed and the demographics in the community changed, but it worked. They had a model in which you at least graduated from high school knowing how to read, write, and as my mama say, do your arithmetic, right? But right now, MPS is just, and shout out to you if you had a baby who graduated. I've seen a lot of people putting their babies' graduations up. Big up, big up, big up. Give them credit for their accomplishments and whatnot. But where is MPS going? Because we know right now they just had this huge $1.5 billion budget passed. And this budget was written with the understanding that some positions in buildings would just not be filled, right? But there was also some money given to the school system that I'm like, well, I thought y'all was straight because y'all got COVID money, right? There's money that's been reported missing. I would have to have my sister, Miss Beverly, on here because she does that. She does the community takeover of MPS. Because if we're going to talk specifics, I don't want to really get into nothing and I don't have all the exact numbers, right? Because then they utilize that to try and discredit us. But I'm saying when I look at the statistics of learning achievement gaps, when I look at the literacy rates and I look at where we are in terms of science and math, we're flailing out, right? And it's no coincidence that at the same time, jobs are saying, shit, I'm moving somewhere where I can go get employees who can read. Master Lock said, fuck them kids, right? Like, I mean, but where's MPS going? 1.5, and the teachers have gotten a raise, right? 8% to adjust for the cost of living. I just want to know where MPS is going to go because they have to have a plan. Trolley Troll, he says the school system isn't serving your youth. The parent is, come on. Listen, we talk about the accountability for parents all the time. So you're not reinventing the wheel, Trolley Troll. He said it is the parents in the household. Well, we already know that we have a situation with like parenting, right? I don't know how many times we talked about that on the show.
Hey, but that's a lot of time why white people need to stay out of our business because they don't even listen to everything. You know what I mean? They just form their own conclusions and leave it at that. Like we ain't discussed this shit already.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. No, the school system is underserving our children because they're not presenting them with options to keep them on the right track. I've long said that there should be some sort of mechanism in place to introduce kids to vocational education and stop this kind of pressure to be in liberal arts education because that's not for everybody. It was a great fit for me because I'm not a person who wants to work. I never want to work in a factory. I never wanted to have a big ass toolbox riding around unscrewing shit for people. That just wasn't my thing. My father was a heavily industrial brother, and he'd tell me all the time, "You need to go to school because this shit is not for you." Because he'd catch me somewhere trying to keep my hands clean on the back of his truck. I'm like, "Boy, you need to go to school because this factory shit ain't for you." And so, and I think that a lot of times we've known about this vacuum in parenting for a long time. I last taught for MPS in 2006, which is another reason why I could tell Trolley Troll he don't know what he talking about because I taught for MPS. He didn't. So I know the areas where we were strong at and where we weren't. And I'm also a friend and a colleague to many educators, right? And principals, administrators, people who write policy at central services. I got brothers who I was cool with, who I went to grad school, who I went to PhD studying with, who are superintendents and district, and we've had conversations about where the school fails at. So stop it. He said, let's see, the parent in the household, whatever we already said. They say you talk about how well your did with. I think he think my dad. He's saying how well yours did with you. That's the key. Well, I'm no fool to think that I know everybody didn't have my mom and my daddy, right? I know that, but guess what? Even with both of them in the house, I still almost John Moranted myself. They said John Moran had a fake gun too. We ain't talking about that tonight. Tasha says my poor school has no new teachers in school to take over. We need the trade schools back. Whoever the brilliant motherfucker was down in central services who said let's take shop out of school, right? Like who said we don't need that. Let's teach them other things, right? How could you discount a whole generation of kids who may want to work with their hands? One of the ways that money is going to be really made in this country is through rebuilding the infrastructure of the country.
Right.
It ain't no coincidence that it ain't no black contracting companies. You can't blame black parents for that. You can blame. I worked once again by you not knowing and me knowing. I worked at MATC for some years. See, that's what I'm saying. What you say about white people, Kumar? That's why they need to stay out of their business because
they don't know.
Listen, I worked in MPS through Employ Milwaukee. I've worked in MPS through the Boys and the Girls Club as a teacher, as a varsity football coach. Okay, through Wraparound Milwaukee. So through College Possible, right? So I've worked with MPS on a whole bunch of different levels. So I know a thing or two about what's going on in the school system, Scott. So in this case, you really don't know what you're talking about. And at the same time, I've done community work with parents and families as well. Don't get me started talking about all the shit I've done in this community. So I know the problems in the family. I know the community problems. I know them, and you don't. So, what they say, have several.
I just don't get it. I don't understand how white people can even fathom what the fuck, you know what I mean, is going on in our community. You know what I mean? Why people are doing the things they doing. You know what I'm saying?
Because they listen to right-wing radio, Kamar. They listen to right-wing radio.
You know what I'm saying? And then when they listen to us talk like this, you know what I'm saying? Now they really boggled on what the hell is going on. You know what I mean? And that's why they need to just stay the fuck out the room.
Well, I think that there's an attempt. You want so bad to discredit us. I think there's you really want to discredit us so bad. You really want to say, these guys don't know. But when you talk to me about this kind of stuff, you talking to somebody who's very much in the know, right? So maybe you can catch some other shows where, certain individuals can't say certain words or it ain't up on certain shit. I'm not going to say no names, right? Because that would be shady on my part, right? But that ain't what you getting on Outlaw Radio. And I can tell you this, most of the time, if I'm short on information, somebody in one of the outlaws, one of our outlaw family will chime in and set me right astray. Mama Jenkins, somebody on the line will say, no, actually, Kevin, here's the statistics, whatever. So come on, man. Like, and that brings me to kind of like how I wanted to wrap this show this evening. But I do want to say, I'm getting a late start on my garden, but it's still gonna happen. But I gotta go and buy plants because I didn't take the time to germinate my seeds. So next year we'll use the seeds, and I gotta go to the garden center and get plants. And I also, since I'm so friendly with these goddamn rabbits and squirrels and birds in my backyard, I'm gonna have to cover it up from day one. They look like they just waiting. Like, we can't wait till you get that garden up. We eat all that shit up. So I'm gonna have to cover it up right away, man. But I'm this weekend it should be up and one running. I can't wait to just be able to get out of my backyard in the evening and just water it and just sit there. Just like, I don't know.
Man,
That's some old man shit.
that's gonna be an amazing feeling, Kevin. I'm telling you.
I've done it before. I've done
Just
it
sit.
before. I
Okay.
used to do it all the time. With my old, in our old, where we used to live, I used to, man, I know, just go get me some dust for the insects and put it on there or whatever. I'm gonna get in here and take these weeds out. Oh, I was into it, Kamar. I used to be in my backyard down on my hands and knees, getting weeds out and stuff like that. Me and my wife, I'd be at one end, she'd be at the other. So I know how relaxing it is, but it's just gonna be a joy to just sit back with me a nice little glass of wine and, you know, watering my little garden, watching things come up. I'm looking so forward to the experience. But it's about to be the weekend. This is the last show for this week. I know people actually want us to add a day to the show. I'm still working on how that's gonna look. Shout out to Eddie Silas and Wisconsin Firearms. We're still working on that. And I'm going to meet with he and my other brother from Barcode, the Barcode podcast. We're gonna meet on Sunday. We've missed each other a couple times. We're gonna meet because we got some stuff we want to work on. So it's always gonna get greater later. But it's your season, Kamar. What you got popping this weekend?
Well, this weekend, you know, it's one. I got a lot of stuff going on, man. Actually, but first off, Friday and Saturday is Cray and T Rock funeral.
Huh. Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I can't give everybody the logistics of both of them because I really don't know just yet.
Right.
But yeah, I just found that out.
Okay. And I don't do funerals, so yeah. Condolences. I couldn't say rest in peace to both of those brothers enough. I couldn't say it enough times. Once again, it's the most ridiculous. I'm going on about 4 shows in a row where I didn't have to come on here and acknowledge somebody's passing. So most definitely rest in peace and God bless those 2 brothers' souls and condolences to the family. Real, what you got shaking this weekend, man?
Man, shit, same thing. Tending to my garden. I gotta go grab. I did start some seedlings, but like I said before, I was harding them motherfuckers off to put outside, and got called into the office, and them mugs was out in the sun all day. So it was a wrap for them. So I had to go get some plants, and I think I'm gonna just go ahead and go get some more for the seeds that I did replant. They starting to pop up, but they still small. So I was thinking about just grabbing some plants to have going now, so that by the time I'm ready to harvest them, the seeds that I did plant will be kind of in full swing. So it ain't too late, man.
Okay. And you keep poking the bear. I see you put your little RC car up. I'm trying to tell you, poking the bear. I'm gonna mess around, ride down on you with one of these monsters in the back, and you ain't gonna put that video up on Facebook. You gonna be like, no, we ain't gonna put
I will.
No, you don't want these problems, real. You don't want this problem. Young folks say you don't want this smoke, man. I'm trying to tell you, I'm coming out the box with something that's probably gonna do about 80 miles per hour. So
hey man, you know, it's about the handling, the control. You know, it ain't.
I'm a driver, bro. I'm a driver. I drove on the track. I used to go to trackside every Saturday and Sunday, spend the whole day. I am a driver, right? I done had cats stop speaking to me behind this shit. You come out here and try to floss on me with this shit, man.
Yeah.
I know you ain't gonna do that, but I'm just saying, like I see you keep putting up videos. I'm gonna have to hit you one of these Saturdays. Like, where you at? Where you at? Where you at? Name your spot, son. What y'all call it? I'm gonna pull up.
I'm always where I'm at. You know, like I said, it's a parking lot right down the street. Got a nice little clearing, and even got a little ramp that go down and a ramp that come back up. That we that we can go around. You know.
All right. We gonna talk. We gonna talk. I'm gonna have to do like older men have to do sometimes when they got to say, hey, young fella, just sit back and watch this.
It's all good. I'll learn something.
Yes, sir. But yo, it's very important that we right now establish our own networks for foundational Black Americans, because for far too long we've allowed the narrative to be twisted on where we are and what's going on in our community and how we actually feel about certain topics and where we stand. And the greatest example is what you see when somebody like Scott tunes in and says something, and it's like you're saying you preaching to the choir, like you talking to people who are in the know. These are not a group of individuals who are unaware of what's going on in their own communities. We know what's going on. We've been talking about what's going on for a very long time. Any black barbershop you go in is a news station on Saturday morning when it's full of brothers. The conversation will hurry up and get real. So we have always spoken amongst ourselves about what's ailing us. I mean, you can go all the way back to brothers like Martin and to brothers like Malcolm and the Medgar Evers, and this all starts with them having conversations,
with
right?
each other, with
It's,
each other,
right. So
not y'all.
it's always, but anytime we've involved them,
Mind your business.
anytime we've allowed them in access to what we got going on, it was always ruined mysteriously, right? It was always run amok, as a brother Malcolm would say. So I think it's very important right now. And one of the advantages we have now with this whole podverse that we have is we got the ability to really share information with each other. And I, I don't claim to be Charlemagne the God, or I'm not $1 million worth of game where I make millions of dollars a year off of a podcast. Nah. And I'm glad that I don't have to eat. I don't do this to eat. I'm glad I have a very good career that I'm able to, I'm able to take care of my family. I've been able to raise my family and still be able to do this on the side and keep it unbossed and unbothered. It's very important that we have the truth. The truth straightens shit out, right? The truth changes all things. Whether it changes them for the good or it changes them for the better, it changes them. Sometimes they say the truth hurts, and it absolutely does, right? But the main thing about it is that it's important. And I see right now in America, um, broadcast news is totally discredited. And you look at that in the city of Milwaukee. Usually anything that happens in the city is some ghetto reporters with the story out there. Shout out to Lockhart Media. Lockhart's out there, and I share his stories, all well edited pieces, well shot. I share his stories in the People's News Network all the time, but it's so important for us to have our own networks. This is why I always support anybody with a platform. I am not a hater. I don't look, if you say I'm starting a podcast, I don't look at you like you my competition, any of that. I look at it like more cushion for the pushing, right? I feel like that these messages of positivity need to be made the new trend, because for so long the trend was say some wild shit and you get noticed, right? You look at YouTube now, it's a lot of people on there just saying shit just to get views. And we could do that. Understand that that's within our
Hey,
wheelhouse.
look, hey, and they don't get trolled and shit.
Well, they do, but they don't care. I mean, if you read some of the comments on some of these shows, it'd be like, damn. But I'm saying we could absolutely come on here and talk about a whole bunch of bullshit. We could, and it'd probably be more people listening. If I cared about what Jay-Z was saying or what Beyonce was wearing or about what the City Girls was doing, or if I really cared or what happened on Love and Hip Hop, if I cared about The Bachelor, or if I cared about the Housewives, right? People would listen to that shit. But to me, that does nothing to enlighten the people in my community. It does nothing to empower them. So if nothing else, we can come on here and make a few jokes, tell a few funny stories, go over some memories, but always keep it going right back to the real information and the information that needs to be distributed. We always try to tell people we don't tell you what to think. We just ask you to think. And so that's the kind of the gem of Outlaw Radio, is that it's a true Black platform. Yeah, you on Facebook though. They can cut your shit off when they sure could. And I can go right behind them because I already own a domain to my name and start a website where I wouldn't need Facebook at all and promote it that way. It's many ways to skin a cat, right? Like, so my father used to say, I'm fucking this cat. You just watch out for the owner. But yeah, it's so important for us to have excuse me, have a Black media. And it's important for us to be able to tell our stories and deliver our messages. So I just want to send peace and love to everybody who supports the show. I got these t-shirts coming in. I want to do some with a bunch of different stuff for the summer. So we're looking forward to that. Mama Jenkins said she couldn't let the night go by without making a comment on Kamara's hat. She said that's hashtag cool, right? So Mama Jenkins is filling your lid, right? Kamara's always very stylish, and he does not share his plugs with anybody, so we know that to be his trademark.
Hey man, this is a cane go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I had to go buy this.
Oh, okay. Because I know you will sport some free shit and be like, oh man, I didn't know y'all wanted one, right? Like, but so yeah, man, let's keep our pedal to the metal, man. Let's keep. And I know it's a very frustrating time, and the city is totally out of control. But I'm here to hold the people accountable, and I'm here to hold the leadership accountable, because it takes both. It takes two people to fuck up, right? So, so I just feel like it's important to talk about them both. So I want y'all to have a safe weekend, man. Keep your head on a swivel. Share the show, recommend the show, tell people to chime in, tell them, man, y'all got to get with this show. Because we're gonna become more visible as we move along, right? And so, man, I'm just grateful I'm a humble servant, man, and I'm proud that a higher power saw fit to kind of use me to generate these messages, man, whether you agree with them or not. But when it comes to coming on the show wondering whether or not we're informed, you never have to worry about that, because I'm entirely a person whose contribution to the community outweighs my criticism of the community by far. So if you think I talk a lot of shit on here about the community, you could just imagine what I've been doing professionally for the last 22 years, right? And if you are a person out here who talk more than they do, you are a coon. Fuck you and die slow. I will see y'all Monday, man. Peace and love.
Peace.